Baseball, Rosie Red, Mr. Red, all around for the final game of this 2009 season. Now, the final day of the baseball season always brings with it so many emotions. We leave our baseball family to join our regular families, and for me, this is a day of a different kind of emotion. After 17 years, this will be my final Reds broadcast. I'm opting out of the final year of my contract to spend more time at home with my family. As many of you probably understand, family has always been number one for me. The last 17 years have been remarkable, miraculous. Put any kind of an adjective that you want to it. It's been very special for me. And there's so many people that I want to thank, beginning with this crew up here that is really a family for me. People that have become part of my life, and we've lived through 17 years of the good times, the bad times, and very many moments that are family-related and baseball-related as well. As the day progresses today, we'll talk about so many of those people who've meant so much to me and meant so much to Reds baseball. I want to thank the Reds organization, too, from Bob Castellini to Walt Jocketty on down. It's a great organization. I think Reds fans have a lot to be thankful for and a lot to be hopeful for, and I have no doubt that the Reds in 2010 will be heading towards, hopefully, a chance to make the postseason and not just end after 162, but to go on from there. Most importantly, I want to thank all of you, the fans, who are sitting at home and around the Cincinnati area. 17 years ago, I came here, and my family blessed all of us with the idea of coming to Cincinnati. And after spending so many years in baseball, I never thought I'd have a better experience than I'd ever had before. But so many of you have welcomed me here, walking around downtown Cincinnati, walking around the ballpark, wanting to talk about Reds baseball. You love your team. You love this city, and so do we. We want to say thank you for everything that you've given us the opportunity to experience in these 17 years. I'm not going away. I'm going to be around. If they need me around, I'll come in from time to time. But certainly I want to say thanks to everybody up here, our family. Chris Welch, of course, will always be a brother to me. Jesse Jackson, Mark Wagner, Dickie Moss. We've all sat up here together. Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro, Brian Giesenslaw have been a part of our crew. We'll talk about all those guys during the course of today, but I want to say thank you very much to you, the fans, for everything you've given me over the last 17 years. Enough of that. Let's play some baseball. We got a lot to talk about. We'll have some fun this afternoon as we wrap up the 2009 season. See you at the ballpark, everybody. Here. Get to your Chrysler dealer today for some of the best deals of the season. Buy State Farm like a good neighbor. State Farm is there. Buy Dodge. Grab life. Buy Just for Men. Stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. And buy Skyline Chili. You know it's Skyline time when you get that craving for a Skyline 3-way or cheese conies. Oh, what a beautiful day to end the baseball season on for the Reds and the Pirates. 57 degrees. Humidity very comfortable. Winds calm on this day. And the forecast, baseball. That means sunny. And it's going to be sunny up in the sky, too. Great to have you with us. We are blessed on this day to have baseball for one final time in the 2009 season. And Chris, you couldn't ask for a better day than this to wrap up 2009.
A beautiful day, George. Hopefully we'll have a nice crowd here at Great American Ballpark. It's Fan Appreciation Day. There'll be a lot of prizes to give away, obviously. But I think most of all, these fans have come out here to take a look at this 2009 Reds team one more time with a lot of optimism and hope going into next year. They've played good baseball. It's been an entertaining year, but especially in the last couple of months, they've given me a lot of reason for hope, and I think a lot of fans would echo that same sentiment.
I think we all agree that man number 19, Joey Votto's had a brilliant year, and so have a lot of the Reds, and we'll talk about them as today progresses. We'll hear from Dusty Baker, and we'll also reminisce on this year and look ahead to 2010. Let's check your U.S. Bank starting lineup. For the visiting Pittsburgh Pirates, we know that they've avoided a 100-loss season with the win in Game 1 of the series, but Dusty Baker would like to send him home with 2 straight losses to end the season. Andrew McCutchen, who's had a great second half of the year, will lead it off. Andy LaRoche, who's hit the ball well in this series, will bat number 2. He's finished strong. Garrett Jones, what a year. 21 home runs that leads National League rookies. Lastings Millage has hit line drives all over the ballpark in this series. He'll be in left. Brandon Moss in right. Delwyn Young will be the second baseman. Robinson Diaz will catch. Luis Cruz will play short, and Jeff Karstens, the former Yankee, will be the starting pitcher. That's your U.S. Bank starting lineup. And Here he is. That's the future, number 34.
Well, for a team that's not been in contention for a while, at least the last couple of months, the Reds have finished very strong. And the old saying is not how you start that is important, it's how you finish. And how Homer Bailey has finished this season has been nothing short of superb. In fact, his last 8 starts, he's 5-1. He's been a victim of a couple of blown saves, so he really should have more victories than he does. But more than that, he's been really learned how to be a pitcher out there. Yes, he still has a blazing fastball and very good secondary pitches, but he's learned what it's like to go out there and pitch and win on those days when he doesn't have good stuff. And that's a big transition for young pitchers to make. No longer a prospect, this guy's a legitimate major leaguer right now.
So Homer's ready to wrap up this 2009 season. Boy, he has certainly ended it outstandingly in his career against the Pirates. He's 3-0. For his 2009 totals, he's now 7-5 and an ERA of 4.78. Jay Bruce back in the lineup for the Reds, and hope you had a chance to see the interview we did with Jay and Joey Votto yesterday. Our 3rd annual get-together as they reflect on the present and the future of the Reds. Brandon Phillips has had a brilliant season again, Gold Glove caliber second base, and 95 runs batted in on the season. Ready to go to work. Here's Homer, and here's McCutchen. And oh, by the way, we'll fill you in on what's going on in the playoff picture. You know that the Dodgers beat Colorado last night, so the National League picture is complete. The American League picture still to be decided. Amazing. Detroit, Minnesota, Chris, going down to the final day.
You know what? That's what it's all about, and that's what, you know, I'm sure the commissioner wanted when he instituted the wild card into the baseball, but to have that in one of the division series there in the American League Central, interesting day out there in the American League today.
McCutchen pumps this one into the right field corner. Bruce will scoop it up, and that's the respect for Jay Bruce. With McCutchen's speed, you're thinking he's going to have 2 in the bag, but Jay Bruce got over there quickly, reacted fast, and Bruce, who has 11 assists on the season, held him to a single. Surprising, but not when you got number 32 out there. Here's your 4 defensive alignment. Jay, one of the league leaders in assists with 11 out and right. Drew Stubbs, who's had a great second half, and Lance Nix will get the start over left. Rolen, 8 times a Gold Glover. Giannis and Phillips, the double play combo. Joey Votto at first, and Corky Miller will get the start behind the plate for Homer. Homer's improved in so many ways, Chris, and this one of them. When he first came up, he didn't have a slide step. He was very slow to the plate, and he's not perfect, but boy, he's improved so much in trying to hold runners.
Well, he had a lot more guys on base earlier on too, so he had plenty of exposure to those players that were trying to steal bases. He still is rather long and deliberate, but by mixing in a slide step and throwing over more often, he's gone a long way to shut down the opponent's running game.
Here's Andy LaRoche, the younger brother of Adam LaRoche. Adam was the first baseman, Andy the third baseman when this year started for the Pirates. Adam wound up being traded to Boston and then traded again to the Atlanta Braves, where it looks like there's a good probability that he might re-sign with the Braves for next year. 20 stolen bases for McCutchen. He leads off first. Tardy on that. It's no balls and 2 strikes. Been a year of transition for the Buccos. 7 different moves during the course of the season has certainly changed the look of this ball club from opening day. All new faces every place you look around the diamond. And today it's even more so without Ryan Domit behind the plate. Domit was the only starter who remained in the lineup from the start of the season, and Domit not starting today. And many questions to be answered for the Pirates. More than the Reds have for the offseason, that's for certain. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Boy, that's, you know, he's looking hard. You get him way out in front with that.
Well, you know what? You're very important to change speeds, obviously, and Homer Bailey does that. That looks like a curveball right there. You know, you don't see him pull that out of his back pocket very often. Sometimes his fastball changeup, sometimes his fastball harder breaking ball like a slider. But boy, it's nice to see him drop that big old-fashioned dewdrop in on him right there.
You know, Chris, when we first saw him come up, he basically was a fastball and curveball pitcher. What an evolution for Homer Bailey.
Well, you know, sometimes you put so much an emphasis on your secondary pitches, you forget what got you there. And I think that was one of the things that set Homer back earlier in the year, is that, you know, he was working so much on his breaking ball and so much on that new split finger pitch that he threw, that he really didn't believe in his fastball. But I think what Dick Paul, who is no longer with the ball club, but got into Homer, was, you know what, your fastball got you here, and you need to throw that more.
McCutchen starts to go, but he slips and falls 2 steps into his break. It is, from looking from here, Chris, it does look awful wet by first base.
Yeah, I don't know. It rained in one spot overnight, maybe to shut down the running game, although the Reds are the ones that have speed. You see him slipping on his second or third step right there. It has been watered down pretty good over there. I don't know whether he's going to try it again or not, but Homer has gotten a lot better in keeping runners from stealing second base.
Is that Alvin Dark against the Dodgers? 1 ball, 1 strike. That's on the outside corner. Your home plate umpire for today, DJ Rayburn. Randy Marsh at first, Lance Barksdale at second, and Marvin Hudson, your third base umpire.
You know, to give you an example of how much Homer Bailey has improved in holding runners, last year with the Reds, he pitched 36 innings and he gave up 8 stolen bases. This year, he's pitched 107 innings and he's given up 8 stolen bases. So that kind of puts it in a nutshell as to how much better he is, and he'll just continue to get a little bit better as he gets more experience and tightens up that delivery.
Homer Bailey to the stretch, Chris. Mark Wagner just gave me a bulletin off the wire, and this is important news. The University of South Florida has moved into the top 25 in college football. Well, congratulations to you.
Well, they beat up on the Orangemen, unfortunately for John Browdy and company. He's still wearing that Syracuse orange yesterday. Congratulations to the Bulls.
First time ever for your alma mater. That's up high. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Good news for the Bulls and a tough afternoon for the Orangemen.
Well, they're going to have the Bulls that is going to have their hands full in a couple of Thursdays from now when they take on the Cincinnati Bearcats.
You're not kidding.
Down in Tampa. You know, Brian Kelly and company be ready for that.
What side you going to be sitting on? 2 balls, 2 strikes, down low.
I think I'm going to be just like you, George. I'll sit on both sides.
That's it. That's the way to do it. We've learned it. That's great. Except for one Saturday when SC played Ohio State.
Yes, I know. You have to make your tough decision there.
That's right. I root for the Buckeyes every Saturday except when they played the Trojans. 3 balls, 2 strikes. McCutchen, you expect to be off and running. He's going. It's lined into left for a base hit. Garrett Jones plunks one into left for a base hit.
Well, the more I see of Garrett Jones, the more I really like him. You know, sometimes those diamonds in the roughs that those organizations invite to spring training and a non-roster player really work out for you. And in the case of the Pirates, Garrett Jones has been more than anybody would have expected. Batting in the number 3 slot in the order, he's a legitimate keeper. You know, in kind of the same way that Johnny Gomes was a major surprise after inviting him into spring training as a non-roster player. You really never know until you polish him up and see what you got.
I mean, we didn't know a lot about Garrett Jones. We did see him in the Minnesota organization years ago and knew he was not a 21 or 22-year-old rookie. 28 years of age, but he has had an outstanding season since taking over for Adam LaRoche. Here's Millage. Lasting steps in after a great couple of weeks. His average back up to 280, hitting .326 with 3 homers against the Reds this year, and in his career over 300 as well, .316. Those are the best averages he has against any team that he's faced. And of course, he came up as one of the bright young prospects for the Mets, traded to Washington, and maybe the 3rd time will be a charm for this young man who grew up in and around the Bradenton area, facing Homer Bailey here.
He's got big shoes to fill. Obviously, when you're punched into the number 4 hole, you've got some pressure on you.
And the shoes he's trying to fill in left are Jason Bay's shoes. Those are even bigger to fill.
Well, he's got some talent, and we've seen that along the way. He's got a quick bat, good high fastball hitter. Homer Bailey would be best advised to keep it down and keep it on the outer part of the plate.
2 balls, 1 strike. Double play depth for the Reds infield. And he waves at that. We didn't know whether Millage would play. Banged a foul ball off his foot last night and limped noticeably at the tail end of the game, but he's back in there for the final game of 2009 today.
You know, when you scout, you always want to look for a hitter's good swings at a pitch and what his bad swings are. Boy, what a difference in swings for him when he gets a high pitch versus a low and away pitch.
2-2. Didn't miss by much, trying to bite at that one down and away, and another full count, 3-2.
That's the other breaking ball for Homer Bailey. He brought out that real slow curveball to put away Andy LaRoche. That's the slider right there. Boy, nice tight spin. Got to throw a strike here.
See if the runners are going with one out. 3-2 they are, and it's fouled off to the right side.
Hey, McCutchen slipped again out there. I mean, they watered down the area around first base. Looked like they watered that sprinter's starting block over there around second base. He's reminding me of Lonnie Smith out there where he's slipping and sliding.
Skates. We haven't seen the field like this very often this year. Three balls, two strikes. Now McCutchen this time takes his lead deeper out of the steps where he was before in what is the softer field that he was leading off on. Three balls, two strikes. See if the runners are going again. They are. In the air to left center field. Moving over is Stubbs. He'll haul it in. McCutchen, who has been running, retreats to second. He will not have a chance to try to go to third. And there's your second out of the inning. Millage retired, 2 away, and here comes Brandon Moss. By the way, Chris, I've been calling around after the big brouhaha we had this week with the rubbed up balls. The Cardinals complaining about they were too slick. There wasn't enough mud rubbed onto them. And I think the one thing that it appears is going to happen, and you know very well, in the old days the umpires used to rub up all the balls. That stopped years ago, and now clubhouse attendants really rub up the balls in every single ballpark. Here's the first pitch to Moss, and while that's worked, I mean, fine for most people, and it's pretty clear that some ballparks rub up balls more than others, and it's pretty clear also that some pitchers like balls rubbed up more than others. I think one thing that is going to be discussed this winter at the winter meetings is to, at the very least, allow the balls to be checked at the very end by the umpires, and that's the way it should be. You know, it used to be the umpires rubbed them up. They were in the umpires' room, and they knew what they were. Now they're rubbed up, and sometimes they never even show up in the umpires' room.
Yeah, I didn't realize when that changed. I did realize over the last few years, though, I'd see those clubhouse guys in there rubbing them up before a ball game. I always thought that was the umpire's duty. I didn't know when it changed, but you know, to bring some kind of uniformity in it, I think is important. You know, my next question is, why don't they come in the box rubbed up? I mean, while you're making them, go ahead and throw some mud on them and then package them up.
I think you got something here. You can build a machine.
Well, I don't know about that.
This can be like your snow cone machine. You can go around the country making some money with that.
Well, they do use that specialized kind of mud that they buy in a little tub. I never thought anybody could dig up a bucket of mud and sell it for as much as they do, but that Mississippi mud is in high demand.
Fly ball to left. Going back at the wall, looking up, hauling it in is Lance Nix. So a couple of runners, no damage. We're going to the bottom of one. Drew Stubbs will lead it off for the Reds. Coming into this final home game of the year, Drew Stubbs will lead it off. Paul Janisch bats in the number 2 spot. Joey Votto, who clubbed his 25th homer last night, will hit third. Brandon Phillips in the cleanup spot. Scott Rolen also homered last night. He'll hit behind him. Then Jay Bruce, Lance Nix, Corky Miller, and Homer Bailey. Jay last 10 games, 370. He's finishing in a strong suit. That's your U.S. Bank starting lineup. And here's the former Yankee, Jeff Karstens.
Jeff Karstens this year for the Pirates has been a part-time starter, part-time reliever. This will be his 13th start of the year. The Reds did face him back in May, and they hung him with a loss when they got 5 runs in 5 innings off of him. That day, Karstens had some control problems. He walked 4 batters in 5 innings.
Reds, of course, had won 8 straight against the Buccos until Pittsburgh won the first game of this series. They played well against Pittsburgh all season long.
Well, you know, one of the goals for the Reds this year was to play better inside their own division, and they really did that. They turned the tables on the Houston Astros, essentially flip-flopping the record that they've had against the Astros from a miserable win-loss record to a much, much better win-loss record. And they've done much better this year against the Pirates as well.
12-5 against Pittsburgh. Dusty, in between sips on his coffee, got that toothpick deluxe.
Now that's not a toothpick, George. That's a chewing stick.
Yep.
An Australian chewing stick.
That's why we call it a toothpick deluxe.
Okay, yeah, you're right. It is the deluxe version. Not the kind you get on the way out the door from your favorite breakfast restaurant.
No. I mean, his box of toothpicks costs as much as a case of wine for you and me. 3 balls, 2 strikes. That's a drilled shot. If it stays fair, it's gone. It's curving and going foul. Well, he's shown some uncommon power from the leadoff spot. He's really come of age since coming to the major leagues. He almost had another leadoff homer. On the season, Drew steps in with 8 homers and 17 knocked in. That's in only a month and a half of baseball after he had only 3 homers in a whole season down at AAA.
You know, it just goes to show you that if you have a little punch in your leadoff spot, it can really change things around. Last few years, the Reds have been looking for somebody who can bring that blend of speed and power, and they may have found it right here in Drew Stubbs.
That's past LaRoche into left. That sounded good, didn't it? That's a base hit, and the Reds have the leadoff hitter on in the first.
Now, when you get a hanging 3-2 breaking ball, you want to jump all over, but don't swing too hard. He puts a nice smooth swing on that ball, throws that top hand, and that's a 1 bounce humpback line drive that runs right by the third baseman, Andy LaRoche.
Can't forget about Stubbs either. He's got 10 stolen bases in his short time. Had nearly 50 in the minor leagues this year for Rick Sweet down at AAA Louisville. So he'll try to negotiate the soggy first base area. And here's Giannis.
I got to figure that, you give him a full year based on the number of stolen bases he had this year in the minors and the majors. You get him a full year. You get him real good coaching help from Hatcher, who watches video and studies the pitchers. He could be a 40 to 50 stolen base a year player.
Showing bunt. The Reds had 4 sacrifices yesterday. Here's the first one of today. The team that leads the National League in sacrifice bunts. First time the Reds have done that since the 60s. Puts a runner in scoring position. Here's your 4 defensive alignment for the Buccos. The other thing it does is take a runner out of a possibility of a double play, and this Pirate team leads the major leagues with 170 double plays. Millage, McCutchen, Moss in the outfield. LaRoche is over at third. Cruz and Young, the double play combo. Garrett Jones at first, and Robinson Diaz catching Carstens. That's your 4 defensive alignment. Pittsburgh, #1 statistically in defense in the National League. They've had an outstanding defensive year. Here's Joey talking about an outstanding year. They'll go to second, and Stubbs is back. Votto last night drilled, and again to left field, his 25th homer of the year. He's got 84 runs knocked in. Every month this season, he's hit over 300, except in August when he hit 220. So you add it all up, he's wrapping it up at around 318. It was great when we asked him yesterday about what he learned this year. And he kind of paused, and everything he went through, Chris, I mean, it was last year that his dad passed away, but when the anniversary came in August, you could tell. It was telling on him again. Hey, and you and I, in our 17 years together, we both lost our mom and our dad. And you never forget that moment. And every year we say a prayer for him, we think of them. And it really hit him hard. And he fought through that. He had help from his family, help from his loved ones. But it sure did affect him on the field.
Well, he's such a thoughtful young man, and he's so sincere in just about everything that he does that, part of the issue with the loss of his father is that it was very sudden, and that he left with him 2 younger brothers who were twin 9-year-olds. And Joey really felt like he needed to step up more in the family than than other people. You know, when we lost our parents, but we were both grown, and I think that put added responsibility on him because he knew that he has a responsibility to his family that way.
Three balls, no strikes to Joey. And he'll take a walk. So first and second with one out here in the first. Walks, as you mentioned, Chris, have been a problem for Karstens when he's gotten into trouble, both as a reliever and a starter.
Well, he's had a couple of games this year, and they were both early in the year when he had really wild problems. One of them was against the Reds, and one of them was against his first game of the season against the Houston Astros. Not a real high strikeout pitcher, but he is usually a guy that's somewhat around the plate. He did pitch on Wednesday, picked up a win. That was against the Cubs, first win for him in a couple of months. And he pitched pretty well.
There's Brandon. Boy, he was on fire when the Reds were in Pittsburgh. Had a great start to this month of September heading into October, but has hit a cold spell of late, so he will not get to the 100 run batted in total of the season. He's sitting on 95 right now, but you take the year in its entirety, he's been outstanding defensively again and has provided solid offense, hitting from a position that you said from the beginning he's really not a number 4 hitter, but he's had to adapt to that with the Reds' lack of offense this year.
Well, you know what, though, he's really kind of settled into it nicely, and I think he's got a little bit better as the year goes on. Can't argue with 95 runs batted in, that's for certain.
He leads the clubs in those 95 runs batted in, leads the team in hits at 159, and tied for the lead in stolen bases.
There just aren't all that many second basemen that you see slotted in the number 4 hole. I mean, Jeff Kent comes to mind. He batted 4th for several different teams. But it's just kind of an odd spot normally for a middle infielder, but he is an exceptional player.
Joey Votto next after that time on the disabled list at 84 runs batted in. Jay Bruce also on the DL with 57. Stubbs had an idea about going to third, and it looked like he slipped a little bit too, and now he's looking at the dirt around him.
Yeah, and I wonder if that may have distracted Brandon a little bit. He kind of gave a glance out there after that pitch to Drew Stubbs, saying, you know, your movement out there or your fake to run to third base may have taken my distraction or taken my focus off the ball.
And he looked back at Brandon and tapped his chest as if he said, my bad, my fault. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, you pretty much can tell what Karstens' go-to pitch is when he gets 2 strikes on a right-hander. That's a breaking ball. He's got a good curveball, and he'll stick with it.
2-2 to Brandon. Stubbs off second, Votto off first. Right field hit pretty good. Moss going back. Look it up. It's going to be 1 hop off the wall. Stubbs rounding third. He'll score. They'll hold Votto. The throw to second won't be in time. Brandon has a 2-bagger. A run batted in. Make it 96 on the season. And the Reds have taken the lead 1-0. When he goes to right, he's so much a better hitter.
Well, you know, this is the kind of hitting that really excites your hitting coach. And I'm sure Brooke Jacoby's sitting in there in that Reds dugout thinking, man, oh man, we've been working on that. I'm so glad that he's doing that. Votto's doing it. Jay Bruce, when he plays, is doing that. And it makes you such a well-rounded hitter. To wait, and I imagine on that count he was probably waiting for a breaking ball, got a fastball, and drove it big time.
Here's Scott Rolen, scored the Reds' first run yesterday on a great slide and then ripped a home run as a Red this year, his 3rd homer of the season, to give the Reds the lead for good, 2-1. Rolen steps in overall when you combine Toronto and Cincinnati with a .305 average and 11 home runs. Pretty good year, bounce back year for this guy who's had back and shoulder problems for the better part of the last 3 years. He's been healthy this year, with the exception of the beaning when he was hit by Jason Marquis and suffered the concussion. physically it's been a good year for him, and the Reds are hoping for that for next year too.
Yeah, recently he had a little bit of a back issue, and Dusty Baker backed him off to give him a few days rest. Did not put him on the disabled list. Nothing that required that much rest. Let's hope that, you know, a winter off and then coming back and playing on nice soft turf will help him.
Loop to short with one out. That'll be hauled in. Cruz has it, and there's 2 away. When he tweaked his back, it was in Houston, and during batting practice he just felt a tweak as he took BP, went to Dusty and said, you know, scratch me from the lineup, I'm not going to go today. He said, it's happened before, and I know if I take a day off I'll be okay in a couple of days. If I let it get worse, it could be longer, and he knows his body now. That's the good news. And Dusty gave him a couple of days off, and he's back, and he's shown no ill effects of it the last couple of days. Here's Jay. Well, the biggest revelation of this weekend, and we've been talking about it since Jay first went on the disabled list. When he went on the DL after breaking his wrist in July, shortly thereafter he called Rick Sweet, his manager down at AAA, who's going to manage in the Dominican this year, and said, when I'm back I'm going to come with you to the Dominican. And he spent most of the summer thinking that. He told us yesterday he's had a good enough end that he's not going to go to winter ball. He's just going to rest up, get ready for 2010. Reds get a run on the double by Phillips and lead it 1-0. Jay's heading back to right. Elk and Elk storylines. Well, finally, the Dodgers wrapped it up last night behind Clayton Kershaw. They beat Colorado. So here's your pairings for the National League Division Series beginning on Wednesday. The Cardinals will be at Los Angeles against the Dodgers, and the Rockies will be at Philadelphia against the Phillies. So St. Louis, who won the season series against the Dodgers, will hit the road, Tony La Russa and company, with their starting rotation intact, Chris, and ready to go. A different story for the Dodgers and the Rockies, who have had to go down to this final weekend to get it done.
Yeah, it is a different story, but boy, you know what? Nothing like fall baseball when all those games count big time, and it'll be nice to see the Cardinals and the Dodgers going at it. Two great organizations.
Soft liner backing up is Brandon, and they just do get it there in time to get Delwyn Young. One away. Not many guys at second can do that. Most would have charged the ball. He got caught in between, but with his arm he can still back up and give you a firm throw to first.
How spoiled have we been here over the years, though, with the kind of defense that we've seen played by second basemen, going all the way back to the days of Ronnie Oster, or before, I mean, with Joe Morgan. But, I mean, even recently, when Pokey Reese played second base, he was a shortstop playing second. Played it a lot like Brandon Phillips does. Lots of range with a great arm.
I remember when Pokey, of course, was a shortstop, they transitioned him to second, and when Ron Oster and Billy Doran sat with him for the first time and talked about the move, there's a two-hopper to short. Giannis has it, and there's 2 away. Diaz retired. The first word they said was, look, you're a shortstop, so use your arm. Don't try to be like some of the other second basemen you'll see. Use it to your advantage, and Brandon's done the same thing as he made the transition from short.
And he's done a nice job at it. You know, the most difficult thing in that transition is trying to figure out how to turn a double play as a second baseman instead of a shortstop. And really the first few years that Brandon went into second base as a second base, he turned it like a shortstop. Recently, especially this year, he has gotten so much better at that. He's turned it a number of different ways. They have different techniques second basemen do in order to protect themselves from that sliding runner. And he's gotten better and better seemingly every week.
Pretty good combo right here. Phillips at second and over at short, Paul Giannis. And when you look at the numbers, I mean, we've known since he was at Rice that Giannis is an outstanding defender. How good has he been since he took over for Alex Gonzalez? Here's the fielding percentage update at short right now. That's where he is. He's ahead of everybody else statistically since he took over at shortstop. Something else, huh? And those are pretty good shortstops. Rollins, Tulowitzki, Jeter, Esteuris.
You know, and that's only one way of judging him. You got to judge the range too, and he's got plenty of range.
Plenty of fire from the fastball for Homer. It's a 1-2-3. Reds go to work. Lance Nix will lead it off. Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By JTM, food, family, and fun. That's JTM. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Jeep. The Jeep clearance is here. Get to your Jeep dealer today for some of the best deals of the season in your beep beep Jeep. Here's Lance. He'll foul it off. Good hands, Perry Hill down in the dugout. Not surprising, though, Chris, if there's anybody that can teach infield better than him, I haven't seen him in the world. I mean, he's out of the mold of George Kissel, the brilliant defensive guru of the Cardinals. Perry will be leaving the Pirates at the end of this year. And I got to believe he's going to show up somewhere, because nobody's better at teaching infield play than he is.
Well, the Reds recently traded to Boston shortstop Alex Gonzalez. Credits Perry Hill for his growth as a defender. You know, he just goes through the same drills over and over again that he did when he was a youngster in the minor leagues, and Perry was teaching him down there, and he's convinced that that's the reason why he is such a good player. A lot of it has to do with technique and being able to do it the right way over and over again.
No balls, 2 strikes. Nix takes the breaking ball down and in. Hope you had a chance to see the interview we did with Dusty Baker, and he said this guy is one of the guys who he really has the fondest memories of for this 2009 season. The way Lance has adapted. There's a fly ball deep down the right field line. It'll curve foul and go out of play. When spring training was in the middle of the month of March, he was in a battle for the outfield spot that was vacant. He and Johnny Gomes battling down to the wire, along with Chris Dickerson and Darnell McDonald. And as it turned out, no one ever thought any of them would enter into the pinch hitting role. There were a couple of players that they brought. Darrell Ward was the #1 guy that everybody thought would be the #1 left-handed pinch hitter. But midway through spring training, they decided to go in a different direction. And I remember Walt Jocketty saying, we think he can be a very effective pinch hitter. And he's been effective as a pinch hitter and been effective in the outfield, too. It's been a bounce back here for Lance Nix. Nix retired, first out of the second. Here comes Corky Miller. Geico quote of the day: since baseball time is measured only in outs, all you have to do is succeed utterly. Keep hitting, keep the rally alive, and you've defeated time. You remain forever young. Roger Angel, of course, one of the brilliant writers of this generation, penning that. There's a pop-up. Miller retired. And that's the kind of thoughts that come to mind on the last day of the season. Remember the quote from Bart Giamatti, the former National League president and commissioner, saying that baseball comes to you in the spring with feelings of hope and leaves you in the fall as the cool rains fall. And in between, a whole lot of great days at the ballpark. And we've been fortunate to be so much a part of it. Thanks for joining us all season long here on Fox Sports Ohio. And everyone in the Reds family looking forward to 2010 for the brand new season. Had a chance to talk to Dick Williams yesterday, who just came back from, along with Walt Jocketty and a whole lot of the Reds front office people from Arizona at the new facility. Boy, Chris, they're all raving about it in Goodyear, Arizona.
Well, you know, the pictures that we've seen, George, just show an incredible complex. And everybody that we talk to out there say that sharing a facility is the way to go, because they keep it in such top-notch shape. You have your own practice fields, your own training facility, your own locker rooms and medical areas and so on. All you really do is share the playing field where the exhibition games are actually played. And boy, is that some kind of a spectacular place to watch a baseball game. So I know a lot of people are sad about leaving Florida for spring training, but the trek out to Arizona, if you make it out to Goodyear, you will be rewarded.
Karstens has a 1-2-3 inning, so both pitchers settle down in the second. We're going to the third. Karstens will lead it off.
Be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
And this week's Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader, beginning with the Seahawks heading to Indianapolis to take on Peyton Manning and the Colts, then Tony Romo and the Cowboys head to Denver to take on the Broncos. Coverage begins Sunday with America's #1 pregame show at noon. And to update you, the Bengals are leading Cleveland 14-0. They're in the second quarter. By the way, Chris, the other part of that top 20 survey story is interesting as well. Congratulations to the South Florida Bulls to make it into the top 25 for the first time at 23. The other part of it is Cincinnati's moved ahead of Ohio State in the AP survey. Cincinnati is 8th, Ohio State is 9th.
Wow.
So congratulations to the Bearcats and Brian Kelly.
That has to be a first time ever, right?
Yep, I would think so. I don't. Yeah.
Congratulations to the Bearcats on that one.
Done a great job there. Now it's interesting because everybody that we talk to that talks about the job that Brian has done there, it's not just about what he's done with football, but how he's been so inclusive to the rest of the athletic department and the rest of the people on campus. He believes. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And he's always out recruiting, trying to spread the good word too. The other night, I understand on Friday, I guess the big football Friday in high school around the Cincinnati area, Brian went to not 1, not 2, but at least 3 or 4 different games being carted from game to game location by a helicopter with a big bright Bearcats logo on it. That's the way to make a splash, huh?
Actually, that was Jesse's helicopter. He just he put the Bearcat insignia on the side of it that he lets us use once in a while, you know. Jesse Jackson. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now there's some pitchers. Jeff Karsten did a lot of relieving, and he doesn't always look uncomfortable out of the stretch. I think in Homer Bailey's case, we've seen it a lot. Look at the first inning. McCutchen gets on a leadoff base hit. He struggled through the inning, escaped without any runs being allowed. But when he gets in a groove from his windup, boy, he's like a machine.
You know what? And as long as he keeps it nice and slow, you know, the one common thing that pitchers do wrong oftentimes is that they flow through their delivery too fast, or in such a hurry to deliver the ball to the plate they get themselves out of sync. As long as he stays back and stays right there in his balance point, stays back over the rubber, really loads up. They call it a power position for a reason. That's when you reach your throwing arm up behind your right ear as a right-handed pitcher, and then you get yourself zoned in on your target and drive from there. Sometimes you kind of glide through that balance point and you never really get loaded up right. But Homer Bailey has found a nice rhythm here in the last few starts. I mean, 8 or 9 starts.
3 strikeouts for Homer. Back to the top of the order, Andrew McCutchen, who reached on a base hit to right first time up. And as we've done all weekend, we want to continue to salute the people that keep us on the air and keep us moving. Our lead audio engineer, Jimmy Krob. And, of course, up here, Chris, Dickie Moss, and Jamie. Dickie, as long as we've been doing this, Chris, Dickie's been with us up here. He has been such a rock of Gibraltar for so many people, whether it was locally at Channel 5 or here with us from our inception. Special people.
Well, you know, a lot of people at home, and I never did have any idea what it took to put a broadcast together. Still really don't from the inside, but I can see it working every day. It's not an easy thing to do. A big semi-trailer pulls up full of electronic equipment, and each of those guys has their own responsibility to grab those cases and cartons and take them up to their respective areas, set up your cameras, set up all your audio, make sure everything works, and, you know, then tear it down and bring in a new truck the next day. For instance, in this series against the Pirates, they'll have set up and taken down 3 separate days because they've used different trucks each day. So it's not an easy job. It's a very time-consuming and labor-intensive job, but you got to know what you're doing. And boy, we have a crew that knows what they're doing.
They just want to make sure we get it right, so we keep practicing it. Well, they enjoy breaking numbers. Isn't that right, guys? And gals too. Amy Bailey, Dave Campolongo, Campagnola, Dominic DiTillo. Dave, Big Dave, you know, it's And we talk about it so often, and sometimes there goes McCutcheon. Here comes the throw, and it will not be in time. Stolen base, and again his feet slipped out from under him as he broke from first, but he still ends up with a stolen base, his 21st of the season.
Well, the dirt around first looks like it's dried out a little bit, but still soft to the touch. And he picks up a stolen base, 9th of the year given up by Homer. Justin,
Kevin, and Tommy and Jason Seaver. We talk often, and we say it often, that we believe we've got the best crew in baseball and in sports. And I mean, I've been in this business since I was in college, and the people that we've spent time with, Chris, Billy Lutz, Paul, Kevin, Mark Porter, who's not here today, but he's doing an NFL game someplace, I don't know, in Japan or something.
Chasing the big money.
Chasing the big money, yep. J.K. Smith, he's on vacation. He's down in North Carolina. Jim Strickler's going to join him.
We had a little cake, a retirement cake for you, George, before the ball game today. Big sheet cake. We thank Jesse for taking care of that, and Denise for getting the good folks at Buskin Bakery to take care of that for us. But man, oh man, we had some left over, and I know that J.K. is going to be felt like he's left out if he does not get a piece of cake. There's the cake and the celebration.
That's great.
And you brought the champagne.
Yeah, we do that every day before broadcast. What the heck?
Swing and a miss. LaRoche retired second out.
That explains a lot, doesn't it?
That was left over from 1995. Last time we were in the playoffs.
I love your. We got the cake and we weren't sure what to put on there. We didn't want to make it too soppy, So we wanted to use one of your best sayings, and it was actually the suggestion of Christian Roberts. How about get them on, get them over, get them in? And we all know who says that.
We hope you do a lot more of that in 2010 too. Billy, what do you got there? Send money home? So long. Please send money, George. Thanks, Billy. You guys are the best. It's been a joy. 17 wonderful years with wonderful people.
Yeah, you caught us by surprise, George. As you usually do.
And thanks again to our TDs, our technical directors, Anthony DeMarco, and Brian Filippetti. People think that Brian was hired because Anthony likes him. He was hired because he's Italian too. Thanks, guys. Good job, Anthony. That's a strike. Well, we've been pretty lucky, Chris. I mean, the people that bail us out night after night help us have a good time. 2 balls, 1 strike. McCutcheon off second. He represents the tying run in a 1-0 ball game. Strick, when do you leave to join J.K. Smith down there? You're leaving Saturday.
Going down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, taking his golf sticks along with him.
And for the first time,
it's a good move.
There's no hurricanes on the horizon, so good luck. Enjoy it. Strick has tried, but he's never lived up to the cake-eating responsibilities of J.K. Smith.
He has some big shoes to fill.
But he's packed a piece of cake in the bag he's taken down to him. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Bailey trying to get out of this jam against Garrett Jones. And he will. Ground ball out. Pirates strand a runner in the 3rd. Reds still lead at 1-0. When we return, top of the order due up. There it is, still sitting and waiting. This beautiful new Toyota Tundra in left center field at Great American Ballpark. If a Reds player hits this Tundra or the Tundra sign during today's game, Boris Salazar of Cincinnati is going to win it. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. There's Stubbs, a bullet shot into left. That's a base hit. So Drew is on for the second time. He singled to left first time up. He duplicates that here in the third.
Well, the last time he got on, Dusty Baker decided to sacrifice Paul Janisch, or maybe Janisch decided to sacrifice on his own in order to get Drew Stubbs over to second. This time I would wonder that maybe Drew Stubbs would be given the option to steal a base, and then if you do have still an option for a sacrifice, you get him over to third for an easy run batted in for Joey Votto. See what he decides to do out there. Decent sized lead for Stubbs.
Karstens to the stretch. Here's Janisch. And he fakes over there, possibly to try to see if Janisch will tip what he's going to do. He showed no signs of bunting this time. LaRoche even with the grass at third. That's a strike. He steps out, checks Mark Berry down at third in the coach's box for some signs. As usual, Billy Hatcher down at first. If you haven't been with us this weekend, the entire coaching staff will be back with one exception. Dick Pohl will not return as pitching coach for next year. Paul Jocketty and Dusty Baker have said that a list is being compiled and they'll go over it. That'll include internal candidates like Mac Jenkins, Teddy Power, external candidates as well. And for what we understand, there you see the numbers for Dick, hired as the Reds pitching coach back in November of 2006 before Dusty got here. 21 years as a major league coach, 11 years with Dusty, first in San Francisco, then Chicago, then here. He was his bench coach in Chicago and his pitching coach here. And Chris, no doubt he's an outstanding competitor, a guy who's spent a lot of time tutoring pitchers of all ages, and he'll help somebody somewhere along the line.
Yeah, you know, it's always a touchy thing when you let one or two or even more members of your coaching staff go, because I know there's conflicting opinions, you know, from different players you talk to, different coaches, front office people that you talk to, but the Reds handled it in a very classy way. I mean, as best as you can, not getting into specifics, just saying that they decided to make a change and they're going to compile a list, including, you know, first of those those potential pitching coaches that are inside the organization right now.
Stubbs going, the ball fouled down the third base line.
And the reason I say that is because over the years, George, and we've witnessed it time after time, it seems like baseball gets very good, different organizations, at botching personnel decisions, not necessarily the decisions that they make, but how they present those decisions out there. You know, you come to mind our first or second year as broadcasters back in 1993, was it, when they let Tony Perez go after 44 games? It was a phone call. I mean, yep. Tony Perez was living at One Lytle Place, which is a 6-iron from home plate here, and you know, the general manager at the time decided to call him on the phone at 8 o'clock in the morning instead of actually having him come into office and do it face to face. So, you know, and that is just one example of many that we've seen, not only in the Reds organization, but in all the different organizations. But I'm just so happy that the way the Reds handled it this year, when they make moves like that, this is the decision we're going to make. We're not getting into specifics. We're compiling a list and we're moving on. As classy a way as you can do it.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Janisch. They'll toss over. Oh, by the way, that also came after we got back from the West Coast at about 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah. And
the phone rang at 8:30 for Tony and Patuca, who were in their apartment there. That was a day that will always live in infamy in Reds country. Stubbs not going this time. It's popped up into short right field. Here comes Moss. He'll take charge. And that'll retire Paul Janisch. Hey, last season the Blue Jackets made it to the playoffs for the first time ever. Now they look to take the next step towards putting their names and initials on the famed Stanley Cup. The Jackets battle the Canucks Monday at 10. It'll be right here on Fox Sports Ohio. And I wish the Jackets all the best for 2009-2010. Now the other part of that equation is Joey Votto steps to the plate. Votto walked his first time up. And watching Stubbs, Chris, I think it's still soggy down there. His steps, he's taking itty-bitty steps as he usually gets his lead with big, long strides, but his steps off the bag are noticeably smaller than usual. 4 balls, 1 strike.
Well, Carson's is paying him a lot of attention, and he's not bad at holding runners on. He's got a nice compact motion to the plate. He's used a lot of different moves. He stepped off, he looks over, he throws over, he's thrown over easy, he's thrown over hard. He's trying to upset the timing of Stubbs just as much as he's trying to upset the timing of Joey Votto in the batter's box.
He's going in the air to center. It will drop in left center in front of Millage. Millage just couldn't have seen it. I mean, he had plenty of time to get there. That's a ball that should have been caught. The Reds will take advantage of it. Votto will have a base hit. It'll be first and second.
Well, if you remember that last night, Joey Votto rattled a ball out there in left center field a long way. And so your inclination as an outfielder when Joey Votto swings the bat is either to freeze or step back a little bit. He takes a full swing at that. And that freezes the outfielder just long enough that he can't recover in time and come in and make a running catch. So, you know, you credit some of that mistake by the outfielder to the fact that Joey Votto is a pretty good hitter and he's got a reputation of being able to drive the ball over your head.
Well, after 44 pitches, that'll be it for Jeff Carson. John Russell's on his way out. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. The Ohio Lottery up to $122 million. Buy a ticket today. You could be a big time winner in the Ohio Lottery. Great way to end the season with a big Ohio Lottery win. Red trying to get a win. Here's Steven Jackson, who will take over for Jeff Karstens.
Big, tall right-hander from Sumter, South Carolina. He pitched in last night's ball game. The 6'5" right-hander did pitch an inning, gave up a hit and a walk.
So the one out, the Reds have two on, trying to add to a 1-0 lead. Reds scored their run in the first. A single by Stubbs, a sacrifice, and a base hit by Brandon Phillips. Brandon back. Breaking ball drops in there for a strike. He's already reached the 20 plateau in homers and stolen bases. And we started the day by saying doesn't look like he'll get to 100 runs batted in, but you never know. Look out, Bear. Wow. He's escaped all year long. Wouldn't it be something? Man, if on the last day Mark Berry says, hey, I'm on your side.
That's the closest call we have seen all year long.
Wow. Take a look at this. He's still got the wheels. Then he gets out of the way pronto.
You know, remember when you're in the coach's box down there, you're just about 80 feet away, if not less than that, because he's in a position now where that third base coach has to pinch in a little bit towards home because you have a runner on second base. You've got to get yourself at the right angle to see all the outfielders. And it puts him in a very dangerous spot with his back to the batter.
It's the most vulnerable time for a third base coach when you've got a runner on second. That'll kick away, and it'll be second and third for the Reds. You know, the coaches joke all the time about they hate the fact they have to wear helmets now. I think maybe Bear will have a different view of it after that one. That just about
really
don't.
Close, that's for certain. This one bounces right back by the catcher, Robinson Diaz. It comes back and bounces right back to him, but by that time both runners advance easily. So a base hit right here would get probably RBI number 97 and 98 in for Brandon Phillips.
Still got a shot. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Stubbs and Votto lead off their bases. Wide to third. Well, that'll get a run in on the ground ball out, and the Reds will take a 2-0 lead. So 97 runs batted in for Brandon now, and Joey Votto had to hold at second.
Well, what a difference it is for a hitter when you've got that runner at third base, less than 2 outs, instead of sitting out there at second. Without that wild pitch, that was a ground ball double play, ready to be turned. Instead, he picks up a run batted in, and some high fives in the dugout.
Here's Scott rolling flat out first time up. By the way, scoreboard watching, the Tigers are leading the White Sox 3-0. That game underway, bottom of the 4th inning in that battle for the Central Division Championship in the American League. Minnesota, Kansas City scoreless in the first.
All right, so if they both win, the Twins and the Detroit Tigers, they will play a 1-game play-in game on Tuesday. Is that the way it is?
Yeah, it was originally scheduled for Monday, but there's the Monday night football game at the Dome in Minnesota. Minnesota had won the toss, so it's going to have to be on Tuesday. Well, if they both win or they both lose, they would play on Tuesday. It would be an afternoon encounter, and then still the decision would be on the Yankees' part, again, because of their home field advantage, whether they would take the day off. And Daddy Wags and I were talking about it earlier. If you're the Yankees, you'd probably want to play the next day, right?
Yeah.
Makes more sense.
Well, it's their call.
Put as more pressure as you can on whatever of those two teams wins. In the air to center. McCutchen there. He'll squeeze it. The Reds do get another run. Lead it 2-0.
Well, we're back at Great American Ballpark on this final day of the 2009 baseball season. The Reds clinging to a 2-0 lead. Homer Bailey throwing a gem so far through the first 3 innings. And George, you shocked us earlier in the week when you told us that you were retiring after 17 years together. And you know, I know you want to go out with that without any fanfare, without any publication at all, just kind of slipping under the radar. But there are some people around baseball, because your broadcasts over the years have touched everybody throughout the country, throughout the world. And we've got some friends of yours on the phone from time to time today. We'd like to welcome in right now the Commissioner of Baseball. Mr. Commissioner, take it away.
No.
Hi, Chris. Hi, George. Well, I tell you, Chris, if you were surprised, I was stunned. I have to tell you, and I've gotten, as George well knows, I've gotten to know him very well over the years. He's really been one of the great voices of our generation, and I certainly respect your decision to retire, George. Although I thought you'd stay at least as long as I would, but the fact is, you know, I want to wish you nothing but the very best and good health and everything. But most importantly, I want to thank you for your wonderful contributions to what I know that you and I believe is the greatest game in the world.
You're right, Mr. Commissioner. I think we both agree that this is the greatest game, and thank you so much. I appreciate it. And you know, as it always has been, you can call on me anytime if you need anything, or you think I can help in any way to help this game. I'll be there for you. We've had all of us have had a lot of fun. I still remember that day we played the joke on Scooter back in Milwaukee, back about 20 years ago or so.
I remember. I remember it very well too, and that's how long you and I have been doing this kind of thing.
Right.
That's right. But I want you to know, I sit on my satellite every day, every night watching it. I've been watching you and Chris today, and I don't mind telling you, George, I'm going to miss you, and I know the fans in Cincinnati and Ohio will do the same, and Chris, I'm sure you will too.
Well, it's like losing a big brother. I never grew up with a brother, Mr. Commissioner, and George has been that guy to me for the last 17 years. I never thought that when we did our first regular season broadcast back on April the 5th, 1993, that we would be together this long, and it's been just a wonderful run, and he's an impossible guy to replace, I'll tell you that.
Well, I know, I agree with you 100%. I know he comes to Cooperstown every year and does that, and it just, and George and I, through various things, have been together a long, long time. So again, George, lots of great luck, lots of success. You and I, our paths will cross. I know that many times.
We share a love for Neil Diamond too, right?
Yes, we do. We sure do. We sure do. And Neil Diamond, baseball, and a lot of other things. So you take good care, and I'll look forward to seeing you real soon.
By the way, I can't let you get away. I got to ask you about final day of the season. Yeah. Minnesota, Detroit. That's got to be pretty special, huh?
Well, I tell you, guys, I watched yesterday, and I'm watching them today. I watched, number one, the Minnesota-Kansas City game, which I really think is one of the best baseball games I've seen all year.
It's thrilling.
It was just remarkable, and Detroit, of course, is winning behind the great Justin Verlander today, but they're playing the last game in the Dome, or at least the last regularly scheduled game in the Dome, so I'm flipping back and forth between these games. And, you know, people said all year, well, gee, September wasn't what some of the last 4 or 5 Septembers. Well, it turned out, October turned out to be a pretty darn good month. Watching the Colorado Dodger game. And I want to say this to both of you. You know, we're going to wind up over 73 million people. We're going to be down somewhere 5.5%, which is, I think this may be baseball's greatest year, given the economy, given the heartache that's gone on. What a testament to the popularity of this sport and everything that's been done. So I'm very proud. Today's the end of the regular season, which always makes me sad. But then, of course, we got the next 3 to 4 weeks of playoffs in the World Series. So it's been quite a year.
And by the way, Commissioner, I know you were so gracious when you were here for the Civil Rights game. You were so impressed with the people of Cincinnati and Bob Castellini and his ownership group, the way that all unfolded.
You know, that was really one of the great days of the season. And I must say, the way Bob and Phil Castellini and everybody handled it was so well. So extraordinary, and the fans were so great. It was a thrill. I said to Hank Aaron, sitting with him, this has really been remarkable when you stop to think about it. The luncheon the whole day, the day before, and I know we're coming back there next year. So, look, Cincinnati has such a great baseball tradition. I mean, it's been really, really a remarkable baseball city. I know it'll continue to be. I have great faith in Bob Castellini and the ownership group there, and Dusty Baker and Paul Doherty and everybody. So I'm very, very confident about their future.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thanks so much for taking some time out. And we all share a love for this great game, and I know we'll all do everything we can to make it even greater. Thank you for everything you've done.
Lots of good luck. Chris, nice talking to you, too.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Take care, guys. Good luck, George.
Thank you. You guys are something else, man.
Oh, George, we can't let you slide out of here unnoticed. Are you kidding? There are so many people, you know, and this is the one thing. I know that you wanted this kind of quiet and you waited till the very end of the season, but there's so many people around baseball, those of us who followed you around and for all the years. I mean, you take so much time when you go on the into a new ballpark, into a new city. You visit the people in the front office. You visit the secretaries and the interns and the workers and on the minor league departments around. And I don't think there's one person in baseball that you don't know. That's the kind of the running joke. Which city can George Grande run for mayor and not be elected? That we haven't figured one out yet.
Yeah, but how about the way Homer gets out of this jam? He makes a great play to cut off a run at the plate and gets the out. That's a big-time effort by Homer Bailey as the Reds dodge the bullet and Cincinnati holds on to a 2-0 lead.
Special guests up here, obviously. George, people around Cincinnati love you, and no bigger fan, I'm sure, than the owner of the Cincinnati Reds, Mr. Bob Castellini, who Marty Brenneman has come over. All of our broadcasters have come over, and we've got just a couple of small things for you. We can never pay you back for what you've done for us over all the years, but we would like to show you some gesture of our appreciation.
No, it's the other way around, believe me. It's been 17 wonderful years. Marty and I were talking about it when Bill Spiegel gave you and I the chance to come here, and I called Marty. I said, Marty, should I come? And Marty said, come on over. It's a great city. It's a great organization, and Marty welcomed me with open arms, just as he did all of us, Chris. And Marty, thank you so much, man. You know I love you.
Best.
Thank you, man.
Best.
Thank you. Thank you. Bob, the commissioner just said it when we talked to him. He said he's so proud of the Cincinnati organization and everything that you've done.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I haven't done was keeping you after 17 years. That's a failure, and this is a sad day for all of us, George. First of all, let me thank you for the 17 years. You've done an outstanding job, and you've been a terrific ambassador for this franchise and for all of baseball. It's a tough day for us.
It's tough for me too, but and I'll always be here. I'll be here for you. You know that, and I'll be rooting for the Reds.
We all know that, and you're a true gentleman, as Chris said, and so popular. I mean. How can we let George go here?
I don't know. Can't you do something about that?
We're just part of a little group that's going to miss you, George. Tens of thousands of fans are truly going to miss you. We get the greatest feedback on your broadcast, you and Chris, and then when you go with anybody else, Jim or Cowboy or Tom or I think you two guys have teed up one time, haven't you? You and Marty?
Back in the old days, sure. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
I mean, you're just a great ambassador for this game and a true gentleman.
Well,
and we can't thank you enough for being George Grande, okay?
Well, thank you for everything and the opportunity. And Marty, I know you don't have a headset on, but I just want to say thank you for the fun we've had over all these years, too.
Well, you know, I told you the other day on the phone, George, when you called and shocked me by telling me, and then you called Tom, and I said what I said to you was sincere. You're the nicest person I've ever known. I mean, in any walk of life, you are the nicest person I've ever known, and I feel privileged to have known you. I mean, it's not like you're going to disappear forever, but it certainly won't be the same with you not being here come spring training next year.
I'll be around. You know,
You'll be around. And
thanks, Hall of Famer.
Well said, Marty. This is just a little token of our appreciation. This is a grand jersey for 09 with the signature of every player on the team.
That's amazing. Can I say something, Bob?
Yes, but let me tell you, this is just the beginning of a little goodbye for you, and we're going to see you on opening day.
I don't know.
Yes, we are. You're coming back on opening day. This is something that has to be done. If all of us here in the booth and in the other booth and all the press box has to come up to Connecticut to get you, you're coming on opening day, okay?
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys. Thank
George,
you.
the number on that jersey is 09. The number on this jersey, and this is signed by all of our crew here with some special notes for you because you know you've got a special place in all of our hearts. And 1993 signifies, of course, the first year that you started here as a broadcaster in Cincinnati, and we love you. There's no better way to say it.
Well, I love all of you, too. You know that. And I'll certainly always be rooting for the Reds, and you know I'll be around. It's been a joy for me, as I said in the beginning. It's been 17 wonderful years, not just the years, but the moments, the memories, the time that we've all spent together, and the opportunity. You know, for me, life has always been about relationships, not about accolades or wherever you are. But believe me, the memories and the relationships that I have here will last with me and my family, with Joanne and Jeff and Jamie and Brian and our whole family. Amy, we'll always be with you and with the Reds. Thanks, guys. Thanks. I'm worried about this. You know, will you keep an eye on this? Because Jesse's probably going to get this out and sell it by this afternoon.
You know, as always, you have to thank the behind-the-scenes people. And Gary Wayhoff and Rick Stowe and his gang down there in the Reds clubhouse were instrumental in, getting that done, getting all the players to sign it, keeping it a secret from George Grande, because that's not an easy thing to do. You're just about everywhere, and you're able to ferret out every little bit of information. But we kept this one from you, George, and it's a small token, but we're glad to give it to you.
Thanks, buddy.
And now what these fellas are going to do today, George, is get you one last victory.
That's the way to do it. Let's start 2010 now. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much. Thanks, Bob. Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. You're something else, man.
Oh, it's nothing. Thank you.
Thanks, Vic. Amazing. Let's get back to baseball, huh? Jeez. Oh, that's unbelievable. That's mind-boggling, and I'm flabbergasted. That's tremendous. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Well, you've touched each and every one of us.
Goes both ways. You know that.
I can't begin to count the number of times over all the years that people have stopped me on the street and have asked me, is George Grande really as nice as he appears? And I can say every time, he's not only as nice as he appears on the air, you're always, the TV makes you meaner. In real life, he's even nicer than that. And George, everywhere throughout Reds country, whether you're going on the Caravan or in the Reds Fest, people love you. And we, especially our crew up here, you've been the fiber that has kept our crew together for all the years. And I can't appreciate that any more than having been able to sit next to you all these years.
Now, I love you, and I always will.
Thank you.
And I think we've both been fortunate because we've been surrounded by so many wonderful people. I mean, all the people that you see, yes, but down in the clubhouse, and here's the 2-2 pitch with 2 outs to Corky Miller. I mean, why are we here? Why have we stayed? You know, it's the Joe Nuxalls, the Glenn Samples, the Chief Benders. It's the Bernie Stows, the Rick Stowe, the Mark Stowe, Gary Wayhoff. Go down the list. All the people that make every day so special. It's coming into the clubhouse, talking to everybody, and being a part of the day-to-day life of baseball. We love the game of baseball, yes, but what we love more are the people that are part of that game of baseball. And I think we've all been pretty fortunate to be a part of that. And I think we're better for it.
Well, you know what? It is more than just the game. It is the people, and I think you've been preaching that lesson to me ever since you sat down in the very first game. And thank you for teaching me the right way.
No, we've helped each other every step of the way. And I mean, I've said it to everybody, and I've said it. I mean, the commissioner's right. He does watch all the time. He tells us about when he's watching, and I mean, in my mind, I've been fortunate to sit next to the best commentator in baseball, and I don't think there's anybody that you take a backseat to than anybody that you're second to in the game, because number one, you care about the game. Number two, you understand the game. Number three, you're analytical in the way you look at it, and you're not afraid to put your expertise on the line. And add all of that I love you as a person, and for me, it's been a joy every single day, every single inning. I mean, you have some wins, you have some losses, but more importantly, we've had fun every step of the way.
We've never had a clubhouse fight, you and I.
No, that's right.
Hey, you know, speaking of the commissioner, this is the only time we've ever had him on the air where we didn't ask him a Pete Rose question.
Yeah, I think that's right now. We've asked him so many times, you know. I think we've gotten the same answer every time too, haven't we?
Yep.
You know, and I think, you know, we've asked it, and we've talked about it up in Cooperstown too. I believe that at some point in time, Pete's issue may come up again, but I don't think it'll happen under Bud Selig's watch. I think it might happen under the next commissioner's watch, and it's sad because Pete deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for the way he played the game, what he did on the field. Unfortunately, for what transpired, and really Pete has no one to blame but himself in that respect. He dug himself a hole. Now, getting out of that hole is not going to be easy.
Well, you know, he's a George Grande fan, too.
Yep.
Told us many times he watches us from wherever he is and likes to listen to George on the TV.
Well, we'll be back. We'll talk more. Wow. Amazing.
Lead the Pirates 2-0. George Grande getaway day is what we usually call Sundays, because you usually head home or you're heading out with the ball club to one of the other places. But, George, we have another one of your friends on the line, and if there is a nicer guy than George Grande, and I don't think there is, maybe tied for that, might be the mayor of Riverfront. Let's bring in the mayor right now. Mayor, you on the phone?
What's up, fellas?
Sean Casey.
Hey, Case, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Georgie, how you doing, man?
I'm great.
God. Well, you know what? I tell you what, George, you should have told me. You should have told us a few weeks ago so we could bring out the balloons and everything like that. Because you know how much you're loved, man. You're going to be missed, and it's just so good to talk to you. Talk to you guys.
Case, you know, I was going to call you tomorrow, but you know. Knowing you, you know what our feelings are for each other. It was great to see you at the Miracle Field dedication last week. That was special, wasn't it?
That was special. It was special. Well, you know, I was thinking, George, I was talking to Welsh yesterday, and you know, I was just thinking so many memories came back from just, you know, you and me throughout the years and the 8 years I was in Cincinnati, and how great you were to me and my family, and just another thing, you know, seeing you at the Miracle League last week, all the things that I think back when I came back to Upper St. Clair in Pittsburgh when they retired my number there, and sure enough, you were there as the MC for that, and it was just like, you're one of those guys, man. Your friendship is unwavering, and your loyalty to so many people that have come across you that feel like you're the greatest guy they've ever met, and for that, I'm so appreciative, man, for real.
I take after you. You're my idol.
Well, it goes both ways on that one, brother. It goes both ways.
Fly ball off the wall, rounding second, going to third will be Steve Pierce. He'll be sitting on third. And, you know, in case you talk about, I remember so well. I remember so many things that you did, but the one moment I'll always remember is after you were hit in the eye, visiting you and Mandy in the hospital that next day with your eye swollen shut, and I looked at you, you looked at me, and you said, "I'm coming back, don't worry, I'll be back." And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world is this guy going to be able to come back? Boy, you sure did.
Yeah, well,
what a welcome to Cincinnati. I was so excited to be there, have an opportunity. I think Jack McKeon told me that day, hey, you're going to be starting tomorrow for the rest of the year, and I was fired up. And next thing you know, I'm talking to you in the hospital, and someone's bringing me Skyline chili. I'm like, what's this? What's going on here? It was one of those things where, I really believed I'd come back because I was 23 years old, and I wasn't going to, I felt like I was finally where I wanted to be, and I'm so fortunate I came back to play. And looking back at that time, I was so fortunate how many people like you and Eduardo Perez and so many people came and rallied around me. So it was pretty special moment for me in Cincinnati.
Other than you guys being genuinely nice guys, the other thing that you have in common so much is that you really care about the game. In case I remember after that, the one-game play-in that you had against the New York Mets, where the city was so excited. They sold out the tickets in about an hour and a half. They sold 50,000 plus tickets to that ball game at the old Riverfront Stadium, and it didn't go the Reds' way, and I know there was a lot of dejection at the end of that ball game, but I just kind of remember your face and the face of George after that ball game, that genuine disappointment because you care so much.
Yeah, it was, Welsh. I mean, looking back at that time, people say, do you have any regrets in your career? And I really don't. I said one of the things that I regret was that weekend in Milwaukee and that one-game playoff in New York, to go back to the playoffs for the Reds and for all the great guys in that team. And, yeah, I mean, I think I care so much about the game of baseball, and I think that's one thing about George, that has always come through to so many people, your love and passion for the game and passion for the players. And that 99 game was, exemplified my feelings for the game and George's feelings for what this game is about in the Cincinnati Reds.
Now, in case they call you the mayor here at Riverfront, and you followed George Grande around enough on the road, is there a town in America where George could run for mayor and not be elected?
No, I'm telling you right now, everywhere you go, and even working for MLB Network now, and getting to know guys, everyone that knows George, everybody that knows George says, hey, how's George Grande doing? Man, is he the greatest guy you've ever met? Boy, he's the nicest guy you ever met. And I'll tell you what, George, you can blush all you want and feel embarrassed all you want, but it's the truth, man. Everywhere you go, and everyone you touch and everyone you meet, everyone says George Grande does not have a bad boy in his body, and what a great human being. So what a tribute to you, George, that everywhere I go to this day, people ask, how's George Grande doing? You talked to him lately? What a great guy.
Case, I remember, Chris mentioned that 99 game. I remember you crying by your stool, by your locker, and Barry Larkin coming over and putting his arms around you. That told you all you need to know about Sean Casey and all you need to know about Barry Larkin, too, huh?
It's been great reuniting with him at MLB Network because he was just such a role model for me and a role model for what baseball was all about and how to play the game. And when I was a young kid, he was the veteran guy, and he kind of put me under his wing. So, yeah, I love Lark to death. And you build those relationships with people, but I'm so fortunate to play with Lark.
It's great to see the two of you sitting together on the MLB Network. You're doing a great job. I think Chris and I sit together often and talk about our favorite players, favorite years, and certainly watching you with your major league career starting in Cincinnati, and Aaron Boone's another one, Chris, that we saw come through at the top of the list. In case, I love you and always will, and you're not just a great ball player and a great professional, but you're a special person. And by the way, for those of you in Reds country, congratulations. Sean and Mandy going to have another baby.
All right.
Yeah, we got number 4 coming. I think this is going to be it, though, George.
Are you saying that, or is Mandy saying that?
I'm saying that. I put my foot down. That's it. So we are excited, though. We got number 4 coming, and both my boys, Andrew and Jacob, both born in Cincinnati, so all those years there, well, we believe me, we cherished those 8 years we were in Cincinnati with you guys.
Case, thanks so much. It means so much to talk to you today, and it's always great. Always a smile on our face every time we see you. And Chris, we went through when my mom was failing. Lo and behold, one day, and Sean had talked to Mom a couple of times. The phone rings, and I'm sitting next to her at her house in Rhode Island. And who is it? It's Case, just calling up to say, how you doing?
Wow.
She remembered that, Case, and she loves you. The first thing she'd ask me after a ball game, she'd watch the games and say, how's Sean doing today?
Well, hey, Georgie, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, man. She's a great woman, and you're great. And I just want to tell you, man, I love you so much. And I know our friendship obviously will carry on, but I'm so glad. Welsh, thanks for calling me to ask me to call him today, because I couldn't, think of a better guy to call in for. But I love you, George. I'm looking forward to seeing you again, man.
Same here, Case. Say hi to Mom and Dad, too.
All right, man. I'll talk to you. See you well.
Thank you, Case.
All right. See you guys.
The best.
Yep.
Jeez, man. Oh, boy.
And you thought the Ralph Edwards show was canceled.
This is your life, huh? Oh, man. Homer to the stretch, 1 ball, 2 strikes with McCutchen off first. There's a fly ball down the right field line. Andy LaRoche fouls it off. Surprised that McCutchen has not been running in this at bat at all, Chris?
Well, he hasn't really shown an inclination to run a whole lot this afternoon, surprisingly. It looks like that dirt area that was so dark and wet looking earlier in the game is now dried out sufficiently enough that you ought to be able to get some good foot plant and a good push off.
Not going. First and third, swing and a miss. That's a big out.
Well, that's a big out, and Homer Bailey really made some good pitches in this at bat, and he set up Andy LaRoche very nicely. The Reds have figured him out, I think. He loves to hit that ball up and in, and then if you get him looking for that ball up and in and then go outside like Bailey did on that last pitch, he and Corky Miller worked it perfectly.
Now if they can get Garrett Jones to bounce one to the middle of the infield, they can end this with a double play. First and third after the leadoff triple and the walk. Now with 1 away. Garrett singled his first time up with first and third now.
Well, he rolled over on a curveball his last time up. Garrett Jones did, hit it right to the second baseman. Another ball like that, and it would be a twin killing and get him out of the inning.
Homer's battled every step of the way today. And more than anything, this is what you like to see. I mean, that's the growth of getting. Yeah, you get into trouble. How do you get out of trouble? And I think that's something that Homer's exhibited his ability to do of late.
And the other thing that he really likes to do is go deep into a ball game. You don't see Homer Bailey looking around the bullpen after he gets through 5 innings.
Two balls, no strikes. Jones waves at that, and it's 2-1. Update for you. Detroit now leads the White Sox 5-0. They're in the 7th inning. Minnesota leads Kansas City 4-0 in the 2nd inning.
Oh, they're destined for a showdown.
The plot thickens in the American League Central. Pop foul and out of play. Count evens up 2-2. Man, you guys are something else. Jeez. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Garrett Jones. Count even. Let's see, and they'll throw over just to be sure. Try to keep McCutchen close. His stolen base in the 3rd is 21st of the season. Tony Beasley down in the 3rd base box, and Perry Hill in the 1st base coach's box for the Buccos. He's not going, and that's a strike. What a bounce back for Homer. He strikes out LaRoche, now gets Garrett Jones, and he's 1 out away getting out of a jam that started with a leadoff triple. Last time of the year, Chris, our Aflac trivia question. What future Hall of Famer does George Grande play with at USC? Oh, God. Oh, boy. Did you go to SC? No, you didn't.
No, let me hear that SC fight song one more time.
Fight on for old SC. I even know the answer to this one.
A scrappy little second baseman, huh?
Yeah. I threw good batting practice. It was great talking to Mark Frost and his book about Game 6 of the '75 World Series and his stories about Sparky Anderson and Rod Dedeaux. Because Sparky, of course, was a bat boy for Rod Dedeaux at USC.
I did not know that.
He moved to Compton, California. That's where I first met Sparky. He would come to the ballpark when we were practicing and ready for the season because he was so close with Rod. And, of course, Rod was there when Sparky was inducted into the Hall of Fame. There's the 1-ball delivery. There goes McCutcheon. There will be no throw, and it'll be second and third. Yeah, everybody knows this one. 311 wins. Talk about a guy who was a stamp of a major league winner, future Hall of Famer, playing at USC. Tom Terrific. Tom Seaver. He was there my freshman year when, remember, that was the point in time where he signed with the Braves. And they negated the signing, so they put names in a hat, and the Mets picked his name out of a hat. The 14 other players, there were a bunch of. We had some great players. I mean, my roommate was Tommy House, who caught Henry Aaron's record-breaking home run as he was in the bullpen with the Atlanta Braves when the Hammer hit that in Atlanta.
Dave Kingman in that group?
Kingman. Oh, and then after that there was, Freddie Lynn, Rich Dower we see all the time, played at SC, and it was a big time. 1 ball, 1 strike, bounced down to third, but foul. In fact, the best pitcher of that group was Steve Busby.
Really?
Buzzer, who of course threw no hitters in Kansas City. If he hadn't had arm trouble, I mean, he would have been a Hall of Famer. I mean, he threw harder than anybody. Ray Lamb, Billy Lee, Brent Strom.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of pitchers and a lot
eclectic group too.
Yeah. Spaceman was even more of a spaceman in college.
Everybody was more so in college. I can't imagine what he was like back then.
1 ball, 2 strikes. That's down and in. How about Homer in this inning, though? If he gets out of this, you talk about a magic act.
Well, he battled out of trouble in the first inning. He battled out of big-time trouble in the 4th inning when he had a play at the plate where he flicked one over to Corky Miller, and they got Millage at the plate trying to score. And if he can get out of this one, and he did, that is unbelievable.
I'll take that as a going-away present. Great job, Homer. The Reds still leading 2-0. Your rapid rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Well, a great day so far. Our Honda standings update. This is the way it shapes up as we go to the final day of the season. The Reds 2 games back of Milwaukee. They had held out hope of overtaking the Brewers, but the loss in the first game of the series eradicated that. But after where the Reds were about a month, 6 weeks ago, to get their way up to 4th place, 14 games back. They love to finish with a 78th win of the season. And they lead it here 2-0. Here's Donnie Veal, who will take over, the 3rd pitcher for the Buccos today. Jeff Karstens, Jackson, and now here's Donnie Veal. Veal facing Drew Stubbs, top of the order again for the Reds. Drew 2 for 2, 2 singles. You got top of the list your favorite players since we started doing these games?
Well, we talked to one of them today, Sean Casey. I mean, he has to be on just about anybody's list if you followed the Reds long enough, and if you're lucky enough to be in the clubhouse and got to know him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a deciding factor right there. The Boone boys were great because they respect the game of baseball so much. And then, Aaron Boone would sit around long after everybody else was showered and gone, and he'd sit there and half-dressed in his uniform and just want to talk about the game, the situations of a game, of certain players. Really always takes pride in himself in being able to, to pick talent and talk about situations. And I think that now, if and when he retires, which I'm not sure when will be, but I'm sure he's got a baseball broadcasting job waiting for him somewhere.
He's going to do some work with MLB TV for the postseason, and there is a probability that he'll retire. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I'd certainly list Case and Boone at the top of the list because we followed them from when they made it to the major leagues. Now, really through their whole career. Case is retired, and Boone is on the threshold of retiring. We did the same thing with Adam Dunn and Austin Kearns, watching them come through the minor league season. And Chris, we've got the same thing going now, with the Joey Vottos and the Jay Bruces and the Paul Yanishes coming up. It's great to see that young group come up, and a group not just of ball players that have some talent, but young people who have some substance and some fiber. Yanish takes the walk, 1 out and 1 on. Let's continue saying thanks to everyone who's helped us, as they always do all year. I mean, Karen Forgas, Chris, you and I have both worked with her on so many occasions here at the park and in other activities away from the park. She's really been immeasurable in helping the Reds organization. We talked to Bob about it, and the commissioner mentioned it too, how far this organization has come under the likes of the Castellini ownership, and Karen's at the top of that list.
Karen does the work of about 5 people.
Yep. Jennifer, and of course the PR department, Rob Butcher, Larry Herms, Jamie Ramsey. Over the years, they've been so helpful in so many different ways, and especially all the young people. I just talked to Mike Vasallo this morning. He used to be one of the Reds' assistant PR operatives, and Dusty and people like that have moved on to other opportunities with other organizations, and certainly that's what it's all about, growing people, whether they're ball players or assistant PR directors or whatever. There goes Yanish, and he will be in there with a stolen base. Well, Yanish picks up his 2nd stolen base of the season. He's in scoring position for Joey.
Ricky Stowe and Gary Wayhoff also, we recognize. Ricky Stowe, boy, you talk about a yeoman's work of being able to move this team from city to city with all the equipment, making sure that your luggage got there. Although you never trusted him with your luggage, George. I always see you carrying your carry-on everywhere we go. Everybody else sends their luggage along with the team, but you must have had a bad experience somewhere down the road.
I'm usually hooking up with you someplace. I'm coming from someplace else. And plus, I got all my books in mine, too, and that's what makes it heavy.
He does a great job, although I asked him the other night, I guess it was about 9:30 at night, because we didn't know what that score between the St. X and the Elder football game was. And
you had to rub that in again.
He responded in kind of an irate way for some reason. I don't know about that.
And not just Ricky, you're talking about the whole Stowe family.
Yeah, all of them were wearing purple that night.
Bernie and Mart. I mean, those are the people that we interact with day in and day out. Gary Wayhoff, the best traveling secretary that anyone could ever have to work with on a day-to-day basis. He's so helpful, and some of the players certainly do appreciate him. And I'm not sure that anybody really truly understands how difficult the traveling secretary's job is. In my mind, it's the toughest job in baseball to ride herd over not just the players, but the coaches, the broadcasters, the writers, and everybody else, and coordinate it all. And nobody does it better than Gary does.
I don't think that he even knew how tough that job was when they made. He was the head of the grounds crew back at the old Synergy Field when they finally tapped him to be the traveling secretary. And I think he stays in that job because he realizes no one else could do it.
That'll be knocked down by the second baseman. Yanish will have to stop at third. Votto will get a base hit. So Joey gets a hit. On base for the 3rd time, a walk and 2 singles. And there they are. I mean, you talk about the relationship that we have up here. Jesse Jackson, Daddy Wags, and we talk about brotherhood, and these 2 guys have been the best. We have a unique relationship up here, and that what we do every day, sometimes there have been some funny days where we've won ball games. Other times there have been days we've lost, but we've never had a bad day, have we? And I thank you guys. I love you 2 like brothers, and that'll continue. That'll never change. Yes, that'll never change. Ann and Kathleen too. Your spouses, part of the family. And Jimmy, who helped us out so much this year too. When you weren't here, Daddy Wags. Bucky, good job, buddy. You too, man. Those things don't end, though. Those things don't end. Hey, I'm sorry to ruin Tom Farmer's Sunday. He didn't want to be down here.
Oh, no. You actually saved him this Sunday, because instead of coming down here to Cincinnati and enjoying a nice Reds win, we hope, he would be up there as a Cleveland Browns fan at the wrong end of a Bengals whooping.
Well, Chris, you and I have been together for 17, and we've been blessed. I mean, starting with Steve Liverani, and there's a shot to right towards the corner, going back. It's going to be off the wall. That's going to get another run batted in for Brandon. So how about Brandon? Hey, he may end up with 100 before this day is over. He clunks one off the base of the wall in right field. And after a week of being almost comatose, he's got 3 straight runs batted in, Chris, coming in to today.
Well, he's hitting the ball the other way, and he's really using the entire field. And when he does that, boy, he is a tough out, no question about it. He pulls into second. Joey Votto pulls into third. Giannis comes around to score. And the Reds push their 3rd run in and lead it by 3.
And that's 98 runs batted in now, so he's got a shot. But, I mean, before we get off it, let me just say thanks. Tommy, we've been through so much together. Doug, thanks for everything you guys have done. It's amazing where we've come in 17 years. And it's been very special to be a part of all that. Thanks for all the support you've given us, and thanks for, you know, Brenda Dolan's left, so I had to leave too. That was the deal when Brenda retired.
Oh, you mean you don't trust those guys to take care of your expenses?
No. They can't make up all our mistakes. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Tommy. Thanks so much. Line to center. It will get by the center fielder, McCutchen. Rolen will deliver a pair. He's going to round second. He wants 3. Coming into third, Rolen has a 3-base hit. Scott Rolen picks the pocket of Andrew McCutchen in center.
Boy, he has swung the bat big time the last couple of nights. Hit a home run deep to left center field last night. This one a rocket shot right by the diving center fielder Andrew McCutchen all the way to the wall, and Scott Rolen will end up on third base as he clears the bases. And the Reds have awakened. You know, they hesitated on the rally just long enough so we could get all of our presentations done and our accolades to George Grant, our phone calls from the commissioner, from Sean Casey. And then we flipped the switch and said, okay, Dusty, you can turn on the offense.
Nice to see that swing back, isn't it, for Scott Rolen? That quick swing with authority.
Oh, you know what? He adds a lot to this lineup. And I'm not just talking about in the clubhouse and the chemistry and the fabric of how you take the field, but in the lineup as a hitter. He's not a guy you can fall asleep at, because he obviously can still hit and he's got plenty left.
So still only 1 out. With Jay Bruce coming to the plate, the Pirates are bringing the infield in. They trail it now 5-0. 7 hits for the Reds now and the 5 runs. Meanwhile, Homer Bailey has battled out of trouble 3 times, and he's kept the Buccos off the board. Deal to the stretch. That's going to get through. A run batted in for Bruce. Trotting home will be Scott Rolen, and the Reds lead at 6-0. You look at the last 2 weeks and the numbers for Jay Bruce, where he's hit over 350, and more than half of his hits have been either through the middle of the infield or to left.
Now, 5 consecutive batters now have reached base in this inning after the leadoff strikeout. A walk and 4 base hits in a row.
Eighth hit for the Reds. They lead at 6-0. And here comes Lance Nix. Breaking ball misses him, and the strike zone too. By the way, if you're wondering when the last time Scott Rolen had a 3-base hit, it was more than a year ago, September of 2008. In the bullpen for the Buccos, action again. Danny Batista starting to loosen. A bullpen day for the Buccos on this day. Missing inside, 3-1. Sky high to center field. McCutcheon there. Bruce will go halfway, then retreat to first. Nick's retired. And don't forget, you can visit the official online shop of the Cincinnati Reds at Reds.com. Browse the largest selection of authentic team gear, including clubhouse caps and t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and a whole lot more. Get your team gear straight from the source. Shop Reds.com now. Thank you, Jesse. Bang down to short. Cruz will take care of it for the final out, but not before the Reds put a 4 spot on the board and lead it 6-0 as we head to the 6th. Of your Reds ticket stub for a great deal from Wendy's. Get $1 off any medium or large premium sandwich combos. This offer available to all participating Greater Cincinnati Wendy's locations. It's way better than fast food. It is Wendy's. Great to have you with us, George Grande, Chris Welsh. On this final day of the season, the Reds have built up a 6-0 lead on the Buccos, and for me, it's my final day doing a Reds game, and for the guy sitting next to me, it's his final day working for the Dayton Daily News at the ballpark. But I know, Hal McCoy, that we're looking forward to seeing you around the ballpark often and a lot next year. But Hal, congratulations on a wonderful career, not just the way you write, what you do professionally, but as a person. You know, we talk about it every day. There's nobody that does the job better than you, number one, and number two, there's nobody who's more of a joy to be with than you.
Well, right back at you, George. I mean, this is your day, and
no, it's your day.
It was
we are going to have a fight now.
Yeah, it was a sad enough day for me in the first place, and then to find out that this is George's last day too. That just makes it very emotional.
Yeah. I think it's tougher on Nadine and Joanne, because after about 2 weeks they're going to say to us, isn't it about time you went on the road again?
Yeah. Nadine always said that to me about the second week after the season. When did spring training start?
Funny, same story.
But I've been over there in the press box watching the Love Fest, and just so well deserved, and hearing Sean Casey and Barry Larkin and all those great people. And George, you're one of the best and one of my all-time friends and favorites, and it's just been so glorious being around you all these years, and people are going to miss you, buddy.
Well, we'll still be in touch. We'll still be in touch. You talk about great days. Your day here, now that it's kind of settled in a little bit, you took it all in. It was like a whirlwind. You got to throw out the first pitch. You were honored in just the right way. The Reds do things the right way. It was spectacular. But I know it impressed you so much.
Absolutely. I was overwhelmed. Didn't know what to say, and what I tried to say down there tried to come from my heart, because I didn't have anything prepared, and I almost couldn't say anything because it was just so spectacular. And the party in the front gate suite was just wonderful too.
Phillips to second. Yes, sirree. How about that? That's Gold Glove caliber, huh, Hal?
Yes, it is. Brandon Phillips walked up to me in the clubhouse before the game and handed me one of his bats, and he had signed it. Very nice gesture.
Well, it deservedly shows. Another look at last year's Gold Glove winner. We don't know if he'll win this year, but he's given us Gold Glove defense every day, huh?
Yes, he has. He's spectacular. He has the range, and he can make it happen.
In your career, Joe Morgan, the #1 second baseman.
We've had some good ones here.
Yep.
Joe Morgan and Brett Boone and Pokey Reese and Brandon Phillips, guys with a lot of range and good arms, and gave you some spectacular play.
You look back, Chris and I were talking about favorite players, and you and I have talked about this at ballparks and over lunch or dinner or something. I know you were always very very preferential to the relationship you had with Eric, with ED, Eric Davis.
Yeah, my grandson's actually named after Eric because Eric was always so kind. When I took them to spring training, he'd take them aside and play catch with them and give them equipment. And he's just been, he's a great player, first of all. And, injuries slowed down his career. He'd have been one of the all-time greats, in my opinion, but just a great person, too. And, what he went through with the cancer and tearing up his spleen in the World Series, just all kind of things happened to him. But to this day, he remains a great friend and one of my all-time favorites.
I've seen a lot of left-handed pitchers, but any of them any greater than the guy sitting next to us?
Wait a minute. Tom Chris show up here?
Chris always tells a story about the first thing I wrote about him. I don't remember it, but tell him, Chris.
I think it was kind of an uninspiring performance. Actually, what it was a performance that I had in spring training when I was a non-roster player in 1986 trying to make the team. And the first two batters that I faced reached base. One was Billy Beane, by the way, but they hit doubles off me against Minnesota. And they were the only two hits I gave up essentially all spring. Had a great spring after that. But after that particular outing, he went through the list of pitchers that pitched that day, and it was something like, well, of the other pitchers that you will probably never hear from again, included Chris Welch. And that's why I've been needling you for the last 17 years, Hal. When I see all the writers come through in the hallway,
it's great.
I will say, good afternoon, gentlemen.
You too, Hal.
And you too, Hal.
I expect it every time.
When you put it in print, Hal, you can't forget it. You're the best. You know what? You guys both remind me of the way scouts term certain players. You judge guys on talent and aggressiveness and so on, but you're grinders. And you've always been the ultimate grinder for me, Hal. A guy that, every time there's a story, you're there. Every time there's something going on at the ballpark, you're there. I don't know how many hours you've spent listening in these conference calls or these press conferences where half the time it's boring and people go on and on about nothing, but you're always there. You're there to get the story in case something else breaks, and that's why you rarely, if ever, miss a big story.
Well, I try not to. I mean, as I say, it's a labor of love. Love baseball and just love being here and love being around the park and being around the great people like two guys sitting next to me.
Well, I'll tell you, you don't really realize it as a player. I didn't realize it until after I got in the few years as a broadcaster, the kind of work it really takes to be a beat writer and to be a good one. I mean, to be an okay one, you can just show up when you want. But to be one of your caliber, I mean, you've really got to put the time in and put the effort in. You've done that your whole career.
I'd like to have the hours back that I just stood around in the clubhouses doing nothing. It'd be about 12 extra years to my life.
You waiting for Junior?
Waiting for anybody or anything to happen. Yeah.
I think, Chris, the secret's in the cigar.
Yeah,
I think that's where it all comes from. It's like,
just think of all the money and cigars you've saved by the non-smoking of the smoking ban.
Yeah, well, they eventually get smoked.
They get chewed on first and then smoked.
Yeah, Nadine always tells me, I smoke 3 or 4 of those a day. She says, why don't you just take a $20 bill and put a match to it and burn it? I said, what? That doesn't taste too good.
I know your career with the Dayton Daily News will end, but we're very hopeful that you'll be part of Reds baseball and baseball next year.
I certainly plan to in some capacity. I don't know exactly what yet, but there are some things out there for me, and as long as I can walk, and I'll be around the baseball park.
Fly ball out. Hal, thanks for all that you've done for baseball and for us. I love you.
George, I love you too, buddy, and I'm going to miss you, but we'll see you in Cooperstown, that's for sure.
Thanks, man.
All right,
Thank
buddy.
you. Thank you. 6th inning. Now it's time for the Coors Light Freeze Can.
There it is.
No runs, no hits, no errors.
I want 100 copies of that.
He's the best, isn't he?
Oh, you guys both are.
Oh, boy. It's
I love the rain delays, because they're always scrambling around trying to fill some time. And Hal McCoy would come over and visit with you, and the time would fly by. I didn't mind a 2-hour rain delay at all because I know that George and Hal could handle it.
Coors Light Freeze Can brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. And you're right, Chris. It's the games. Everybody points to the games, but it's all those luncheons and breakfasts and dinners where you talk baseball, you're around each other, and you share the game. You care about the game. I think Commissioner Bud Selig mentioned it. It's about a love of the game, and it's certainly what it's all about. I think we all have a love for this game. It's the greatest game in the world. It's given all of us so much more than we all deserve, and you just hope that everybody that's a part of the game understands how lucky they are to be a part of the game.
Well, you may not have noticed this, George, but while they had you on the scoreboard here in between innings, you and Hal, they put a close-up up. They showed everybody. You got a standing ovation from everybody in the ballpark. Good crowd today, too. But you also got a standing ovation from everybody in the Reds dugout. Every one of the players looked up here, waved, pointed to you, and they really appreciate the work that you have done and what Hal has done over the years. And, when you treat people fairly, they reciprocate. And I think those guys down in that clubhouse really like George Graham.
It's been my joy. It's been our joy. By the way, I think I'll come back next year.
All right, get back to jerseys.
Gotcha. Oh, baby. Here's Juan Francisco. Pinch hitting in the pitcher spot. And, Chris, you can't say enough about what Homer Bailey did today. He danced the tightrope all afternoon long and gave you what you expected from him. I mean, you've said it as well as anybody in the last month or so. Watching him come alive and watching him mature as a pitcher this year has been something special.
I'm going to miss you asking me for my report card on the starting pitcher. And Homer today, oftentimes we go by the scoreboard. If the scoreboard says zeros, that's the report card translates into an A. And I don't care how you get there. Sometimes it's an easy way to get through a shutout, 6 innings of shutout ball for Homer. Sometimes it's difficult, and you really got to work extra. Today he had to work, and it's just another step. Homer Bailey being a legitimate major league starting pitcher, not just a starting pitcher, but I mean a top echelon starting pitcher. I think the Reds really have something to be excited about with Bailey and Cueto and Arroyo and Harang and Volquez coming back, and maybe Matt Maloney filling in that number 5 spot, and who else knows, Travis Wood perhaps coming up at some point. But they've got the arms now to really give themselves a chance next year.
We talk about the moments and our favorite moments. I'll never forget when we get to interview him after he was the #1 draft pick of the Reds. He came up here with his family, and they're sitting in the back of the booth up here, and he looked around and said, "Boy, this is a big stadium, isn't it?" And and he looked around, and those are the things you remember, whatever, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years later, when you do become a major leaguer, when you do have success. It's those special moments I think have been the best for us.
You know what? He may turn out to be one of our favorite players when it's all said and done. I know you'll be around enough to still get to know him, but it's those players that you do remember right from the very start of their professional careers. They have a special spot in your heart, and we've been rooting for Homer for a long time, and I think this year it's been his breakout year.
Pretty good numbers when you add it all up. 19 starts, and hopefully coming up with a victory today. The Reds lead it 6-0.
Well, the 19 starts, including, the starts he had early in the year when he was really struggling, and they altered some pitching mechanics on him. His approach was changed a little bit, but over his last 9 starts, he has been lights out. Came into this ball game 8 starts since August the 23rd, 5-1 with an earned run average under 2. That's among the best in all the major leagues right there. So he and Arroyo, what they've done over the last 2 months has just been spectacular.
That's a little wide. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Drew. Stubbs today singled twice and struck out looking his last time up. For the Reds, 6 runs, 8 hits. They've left 5 on. The Pirates, no runs, 7 hits. They've left 9 on.
Hey, Reds fans, for a great tasting meal and an unbeatable value, pick up delicious JTM Philly Kits, burgers, or delicious hoagies at your favorite grocer. JTM, food, family, fun. Last JTM promo of the year, George.
Did the delivery come before the season ends?
Michael Pickett has been, I have to give credit to Michael Pickett, one of the main guys out there at JTM. He's been after me to send the truck out, and as soon as I get that freezer cleaned out of all that old catfish I've been catching, we'll have plenty of room for JTM.
That's good. That's good. I do have a job for you. You were smart. You closed your pool this week. I'm going to have to do mine next week, and it's getting cold to do it.
Well, once those leaves start coming down, there's no way to stop them.
There's a bouncer in the right. That's a base hit. It's a 3-hit afternoon for Drew Stubbs. And the Reds have 2 on against Batista here in the 6th inning.
Well, spraying the ball around, and that ball was not exactly on the outer part of the plate, but he keeps his hands inside so well, which makes him tough to strike out. That's one of the big things that you worry about a young player coming to the major leagues, the strikeouts. And for Stubbs, it was always a problem in the minors, but nice inside out swing right there, waiting long enough to try to determine whether it's fastball or curve, and hits it sharply to right field.
It's a 2 on, no 1 out. And Diaz will go out and talk to his lanky right-hander. Carson started, Jacksonville, now Batista the 4th pitcher. Homer Bailey, pitcher of record, pitched outstandingly, battling out of trouble in the 1st inning, the 3rd inning, the 5th, and the 6th. Giannis today, sacrificed first time up, flied out to right, and then in the 5th he walked and eventually scored on the double by Brandon Phillips. Breaking ball clips the corner, and it's 3-1. Dusty trying to end the right way with a victory here against the Buccos. That's ripped but foul. Scoreboard update for you. The Tigers now in the bottom of the 8th lead the White Sox 5-3, and the Twins have a 7-1 lead over Kansas City. They're in the bottom of the 4th inning. So we're heading towards what appears to be a playoff game on Tuesday in Minnesota. Three-two. Pop back, it'll be out of play. This, of course, the last year for the Metrodome for baseball. They'll move into their brand new outdoor ballpark come next year. So the Twins trying to put an extra few games onto the up ledger. Millage is there. He's got it. And there's one away. So Giannis pops out. And that'll bring up Joey Votto. Votto, 2 singles and a walk today. A lot of reasons to be optimistic if you're a Reds fan. The players that you're seeing out there today, the Vottos, the Stubbs, the Bruces, the Baileys, Brandon Phillips in the on-deck circle. We asked Dusty in our interview today before the game, what's your wish list for Walt Jocketty? And he said the same thing basically he said last winter, Chris. That's the big right-handed bat. And I think that certainly is something you want to add. But more than anything, the reason why I'm optimistic is, again, because of what you have, the potential of your starting pitching going into next year.
I think, we were fired up about the starting pitching this year and really thought that these guys would probably get off to a little better start. Unfortunately, there were so many injuries that the offense kind of derailed whatever the pitching was able to do. Then you had injuries to Volquez. You lose him immediately. You had little setbacks from time to time, and it never really came together. But when you put another year's experience on Cueto and Bailey, that makes a world of difference. Instead of just hoping for Bailey and Cueto, you got them there legitimately now. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joey Votto, before he went to the bat, he looked up in this TV booth and he pointed to you. And he hit a base hit to right field. And when he got to first base, he looked back up in this TV booth and he acknowledged you again, George. I mean, that's like a Babe Ruth story, where Babe Ruth hit the home run for the kid in the hospital. Joey Votto just hit a base hit for George Grande, and it worked.
How about Brandon? We got Brandon. He's got a shot.
Yes, he does.
2 away from 100. We started the year saying he might not get to 100, but not this way. Here it is, a 6-3 double play. But a great day for Phillips. So far, a great day for the Reds. Cincinnati leads at 6-0. Chrysler game summary. It starts on a day where Brandon Phillips has had a whale of a day. A double in the first makes it 1-0 Cincinnati as Drew Stubbs, who singled, scored. Then in the third, Brandon does the same thing again. This ground ball gets the Reds' second run in and makes it 2-0 as Stubbs scores again. Meanwhile, Homer Bailey Chris is taking care of business.
6 innings of 7 hits, shutout baseball for Homer Bailey. He punched out 7 batters, had a good fastball. The boy had to work around 3 walks and a couple of cheap hits by the Pirates, but he was able to put zeros on the board. That's what counts. The Reds in command, 6-0, with some good offense by Brandon Phillips and great pitching by Homer Bailey.
Brandon's double in the 5th made it 3-0. Rolen rolled a 3-base hit in the 5th to make it 5-0, and then Jay Bruce completes it with a ground ball through the middle. Rolen scores, and it's 6-0. There's your line score. 6 runs, 10 hits for the Reds. No runs, 7 hits for the Pirates. Homer, 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, no earned runs. He had a battle every step of the way, but boy, what an outstanding final performance for the young, tall Reds righty. And here's Jared Burton to take over as we head to the 7th inning.
3rd day in a row of work for this right-hander, Jared Burton, out of Western Carolina. He's the catamount. Unscored upon in each of his last 2 appearances against the Pirates, and in fact he's not been scored upon since early in this month. Back on September the 13th against the Cubs, he gave up a run. Since then, he's been lights out.
Off the plate, Burton better hustle. He won't have a chance against McCutcheon.
You know, he made a little judgment error right there because he came off thinking he had to make a miraculous play, barehand that ball, and pitchers oftentimes do that. They don't figure that they've got as much time as they really do. He comes in. The rule of thumb is this: if the ball is still moving, use your glove. Scoop it with your glove and your hand if you have to. Leave that kind of barehanded play to a player like Scott Rolen. So he'll reach a infield hit and work out of the stretch.
So McCutcheon's on for the 4th time, 2 singles, 2 walks. And here's Andy LaRoche. LaRoche, zip, 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 3 strikeouts against Homer. I mean, we obviously concentrate on the Reds and look ahead to 2010. And with all the moves, and by the way, Neil Huntington, the general manager of the Pirates, is in town this weekend. All the moves that the Pirates made, you look at the potential for 2010. I think there's no doubt Andrew McCutcheon's the real deal. I think we all like what we see from McCutcheon.
I don't think there's anybody that's going to disagree with you there. I think they like what they see of Garrett Jones. They like, obviously, Ryan Domit, the catcher, who may be a first baseman before it's all said and done. And they're hoping some of the other guys fulfill promise. I think where the Pirates are is really where the Reds were with their young players maybe a year or 2 ago, without some of the veterans that the Reds have plugged into spots. But you got to figure the Pirates payroll, which is around $30 million this year, will go up a little bit next year. You know, miraculously, I've read, I don't know how true this is, but you know, you read a lot of things on the internet. One is that the Pirates will make money, and the other is that the Reds will lose money.
Well, the Pirates benefiting obviously yearly from revenue sharing money that almost makes it a wash, about $30 million worth.
And that's, they get $30 million worth of revenue money before you even account on, you know, national TV money, the gate that they get, their tickets sold, whatever parking or concessions they're able to have negotiated. Interesting.
I mean, that'll be the biggest challenge for the Reds this offseason. We talked about Dusty Baker's wish list, but that also has to coincide with Walt Jocketty, and there's a bouncer down to third. Rolen, they'll get one. They'll turn it into a force out at second. Rolen, beautiful play to get the ball to second, and Phillips almost turned that into two. Amazing.
You know, we appreciate good defense up here, but the pitching staff are the guys who will tell you how much they appreciate plays like this. I mean, that is nearly a double play right there, turned nicely by Brandon Phillips, even though he had to short hop that ball and pick it. Make sure he had his foot on the bag. This pitching staff, boy, they're excited about the way these guys flash leather.
The most solid part of the Reds all year long has been the bullpen. Probably the most improved part of the Reds from the first month of the season to the last is the caliber and quality of their defense. There's Garrett. Jones today. Single, bounced out, struck out. He'll win the National League Rookie home run title. He's got 21, leading all National League rookies in that number. Been around before, made his major league debut in May of 2007. Came up in the Twins organization and really getting his first real chance to play here this year in Pittsburgh. By the way, Chris, you talk about the Reds pitching staff and looking ahead to 2010, and also who might be the pitching coach. And from what we understand, that there'll be an announcement in Milwaukee later today that the interim pitching coach, Chris Bosio, the former Reds minor league pitching coach, will not be retained in that capacity now. They'll look for a new bullpen coach and a new pitching coach, although he will be a candidate for that role for next year. So you might add him to that list.
You mean he'll be a candidate for the Milwaukee role?
He will be a candidate, but they will look elsewhere too. He was named.
In other words, pack your bags.
Yeah, he was named the interim coach for Billy Castro, and Castro was relieved of his duties.
I don't really understand that kind of situation, though. I mean, what are they going to make him interview again after having him on the job for 2 months?
You got me.
Now, have they already decided to retain Ken Maka?
It appears yes. I don't know whether that announcement has come yet, but I think it may come as early as today. You know, to me, the name that really rings true in Milwaukee, there's Walt Jocketty, the Reds general manager, who will of course decide on the Reds pitching coach scenario. But the guy that really makes sense there was Rick Peterson, who of course has a previous relationship with Kenny Maka from Oakland. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
You know what? You might be right, because those past relationships are ones that, you know, you've said this many times, and it's a very astute observation. The most and important relationship on that coaching staff is manager and pitching coach. And because those guys have to weave, you know, seamlessly, and that's why oftentimes you allow your manager to bring in whatever pitching coach he wants, and then maybe an organization will help fill out the rest of the coaching positions. But they not only coach the pitchers, but they run the game. And running the pitching staff is the most important part of running a game. So you let your manager have who he wants, I guess.
0-2 to Lastings Millage. And I think that's certainly a part of the equation that Walt Jocketty will deal with. I mean, whoever the pitching coach will be, the manager and the pitching coach have to mesh to give your manager a chance to win, and also to make a fluid communication line with your pitchers. Off the end of the bat, Votto will get one at second. The return to first won't be in time. Second out.
You know, kudos for Votto on that one for getting the lead runner. I didn't think they had a chance of going over to second base and really getting that, not lead runner, but the secondary runner going into second there. Always looking for an advantage. And that's what you like about, you know, I remember the way Brett Boone would play. He would do that oftentimes, trying to get that runner at second base as opposed to the easy out at first. And they were able to get the job done there. Good job.
So 2 away, and runners at first and third now for Burton. And here comes Brandon Moss. Didn't get a chance to ask Casey about Brandon. Wanted to do that, but ran out of the inning. And you want to hear somebody gush about Brandon Moss. Sean Casey loves this young man. way he conducts himself, the way he plays the game.
He'll gush about Brandon Moss the way Jeff Brantley will gush about fried chicken.
Yeah. It's a final. The Tigers have won 5-3 over the Red Sox. And the Twins game is now in the bottom of the fourth. Minnesota leads Kansas City 7-1. So
now back in the old days, you used to do some scoreboard watching. You'd have to watch the old, sometimes it's the hand-laid numbers on a scoreboard. You'd wait for the inning to turn over and then more electronic. I would imagine nowadays, with all the smartphones out there, instant updates, Twittering. I mean, there's not a lot of secrets out there. In fact, there are major fans, obviously, in Detroit watching that Minnesota game, probably pitch by pitch, as opposed to waiting to the end of the inning to see what the score update is. You miss those old days, don't you?
Nothing like those old days, is it? I tell you one thing, you won't catch us Twittering, though, right?
Not yet. I've held out this long. I see no reason to change now.
JD will do it for you.
Okay.
He'll take care of you. He's got your back covered. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Burton trying to get out of another jam. Pirates have already left 9 on base this afternoon. Ooh, didn't miss by much. Jarrett had 2 steps towards the dugout. You say, man, if I hold a little longer, he'll change his mind.
I mean, on game 162, what's the matter with that pitch?
Still get your computer printout tomorrow at home if you're the home plate umpire.
That's all right.
So Moss will take the walk on the 3-2 pitch. The bases are now loaded. Here comes Dusty. Hasn't made the call yet to the bullpen. And he gives him a pat on the hip and says, go get him. Little pep talk from the manager, Dusty Baker. So Jarrett trying to close it out after an infield hit and a couple of walks here in the 7th inning. And here comes Delwyn Young. Young bounced to second, sacrificed, and bounced into a double play in the 6th. After being maybe a hairline away from getting out of the inning with a strikeout, he's thrown 2 straight balls after walking a runner and the bases loaded. 2-0. Popped up, heading to the seats. It'll be out of play.
Now this is those situations where you really have to trust your stuff. You can't go out there with bases loaded and think you have to make the perfect pitch. You have to be aggressive. Take it right to the hitter, and Burton has enough life on his fastball, especially recently, that he ought to be able to do that. Go out there with some confidence when he lifts his leg and drives towards the plate, that he's got a chance to to hit his spot, but still have enough juice on the ball that if he misses it, he's still going to be able to get that hitter to mishit it a little bit.
Down the right field line, curving, it'll go foul into the seats.
Boy, did he crush one last night, though. Delwyn Young on a low inside fastball from Johnny Cueto. Ball was just off his shoe tops, and he golfed it right on out of here.
He won't get cheated with a swing, will he? And still indecision with the Pirates on where he'll be come 2010. Will he be back at second? Might they move him back to the outfield? Might they move him around? to be decided for Neil Huntington and Johnny Russell and the Buccos. Two balls, two strikes, two away. Center field. Drew right there. He's got it. That'll do it. We'll keep it right here for God Bless America from Great American Ballpark.
That you please stand, kindly remove your caps and face the American flag. Major League Baseball, the Pirates and the Reds salute the men and women of our armed forces. And at this time, please help us honor these brave men and women and welcome Janelle Kreiner as she leads us in the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Michelle Kreiner with God Bless America. It's time now for the 7th inning stretch presented by Cincinnati Bell.
Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio being brought to you by your local Ford dealer in the Ford F-150 2009 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. By your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. And by McDonald's of Greater Cincinnati. Great to have you with us. Great American Ballpark. George Grande, Chris Welch, Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro coming by with Reds Live postgame. Virgil Vasquez will be the 5th pitcher used by John Russell today as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. The Reds 6 runs, 10 hits, no errors. They've left 7 on. The Pirates no runs, 8 hits, no errors. They've left 12 on base on this final day of the regular season. Homer Bailey stands to be the winner. For those of you that joined us late, Chris, what a way to end the season for Homer.
Well, you know, it's not always a great thing to pitch the last game of the year. A lot of times teams are disinterested in playing. You get guys out there that are just kind of punching the clock and coming out to go through the motions. But the Reds have not been like that. And you have to credit Dusty Baker a lot for preparing these guys to play out the string, even though they are not in contention to make the postseason. That says something about him and his leadership and the respect that they have for him. But, you know, when you do pitch that last game, might as well give it everything you got. And Homer Bailey did that today, worked out of some tough jams. Now it looks like he's en route to another victory.
When you end on a good note, you're starting the next year the right way. It's a positive reinforcement in your mind as you sit there all winter looking forward to spring training 2010. And of course, for Dusty and the rest of the Reds, it'll be a brand new facility. In recent years, the Reds have played the Pirates usually about 6 times a spring because the Reds were in Sarasota, about 15 minutes up the road from Bradenton. This year it'll be the same kind of a scenario. The Reds and the Indians will probably play about that many times because they're in the same complex. So that'll cut down your travel a lot.
Yeah, it will, and that's one good thing about it. In fact, the travel out in Arizona will be much less than what it was in Florida anyway, no matter where you play. But the other good news is you may play them, 10 times in spring training, but you want to play them 18 times during the regular season too.
Yep. There's so many times, Chris, when the Reds will play a National League team in spring training and obviously if you have a pitcher that needs, there's a swing and a miss by Adam Rosales. Rosales retired for the first out of the bottom of the 7th inning. But you don't want your pitchers to face, especially if you're starting the season, we'll say, with the Pirates, and you're in rotation. Very often you'll have a pitcher pitch in a minor league game or pitch in a B game somewhere. And I think that you won't really have to worry about that, because there'll be enough B games between these two teams if they need them, and you won't worry about it because you're not worried about facing them.
Right.
Two weeks later.
There's all sorts of gamesmanship that goes beyond what the normal fan would think about spring training, and you want to hide certain pitchers. You want to get your hitters in there against certain pitchers, so you get to look at them. And I think when you share with an American League club, a lot of that's gone, and that's a good thing too. That way, fans will have a better chance of seeing more of an everyday lineup out there in spring training than guys being hidden back on field 3.
Less bus rides, that's for sure, and shorter bus rides. There's Jay. Bruce bloops it to the left side. No balls, 2 strikes. So with Rosales pinch hitting for Rolen, Scott's season is done, and I think, Chris, there's no doubt his presence, Scott Rolen's presence on this Reds roster since coming back, especially after the concussion, really been a meaningful positive, not just for this year, but looking ahead to next year.
Well,
too.
there is finally not a question mark circled around third base going into the 2010 season like there has been the last 2 or 3 years here in Cincinnati. I mean, nothing against the way that Edwin Encarnacion came out to play the game, but there was always a question mark. Is this the year that Edwin's going to have a breakout year? Is his defense going to be improved? Is he going to stay healthy? All those question marks were around, and with Scott Rolen on your ball club, you don't have that question.
And we talk about our favorite players. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, this reminder, visit the official online shop of the Cincinnati Reds at Reds.com. Browse the largest selection of authentic team gear, including clubhouse caps and T-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and a whole lot more. Get your team gear straight from the source. Shop Reds.com now. And Scott Rolen's been one of my favorite players since he first came into the major leagues. He's one of those people. He's like there's a shot to right. Did he get enough of it? Nix puts the hammer on it. Going back. It's going to be off the wall. Lance rounds first, goes to second. Nix will have his 26th double of the season. So Lance delivers a big swing. He's in scoring position with 2 outs. Rolen, I think, Chris, is one of those guys who has always had a presence, has always been a great influence in the clubhouse, and watching him come up in Philadelphia, then go on to St. Louis, then go on to Toronto. We've seen players, they change from place to place, or they change with success. Scott Rolen's been the same every place he's been.
Yes, he has.
Special guy.
Let's hope he doesn't change between now and next year.
He won't. The Reds are lucky to have him, and he'll be a linchpin in that clubhouse. Just hope he has a great, healthy year in 2010. And he's, comfortable with talking about it. 2010 is the last year of his contract, but if he's healthy, no reason to think he might not be around for a couple more years after that.
Now, with the kind of coin they're throwing around, why would you quit?
Mm-hmm.
My question to you. Aren't you arbitration eligible yet?
You're my agent. You know all that stuff. You don't tell me anything.
I'm giving you your percentage.
Here's Ryan Hannigan, pinch hitting for Corky Miller. You wish we had theirs.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Hey, people say it, and I think that's the interesting part of this game, and the beautiful part of the game. So many people that we've grown up with, the people we've talked about all day. It's not about the dollars. It's not about the remuneration. It's about the people. We've all been pretty lucky to be with the people we've been with. Hannigan strikes out. We're going to the 8th. Reds lead at 6-0. Service your business and meeting needs year round. For more information, contact the Red Special Events Department, 513-765-7065. We got them all here. Mr. Redlegs, Gapper, Rosie Red. It's the Reds family in attendance for the final game of the season. Here's Ryan Hannigan, who will take over after pinch hitting. Adam Rosales stays in at third base.
1-747-919. That averages to 21.579. 21.579 average.
As Ramon Ramirez will take over on the mound.
He joined us late. Homer Bailey, 6 innings, 7 hits, no runs, 7 strikeouts, 3 walks. Boy, he put an exclamation point on the second half of his season. And the Reds trying to wrap it up with a 6-0 lead as we go to the 8th inning. Well, Magic Glove can't get that one. Paul Janisch, great diving effort. It eludes him for a base hit. So a leadoff base hit to start the 8th inning.
One inning, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 hit.
So Diaz is on. That'll bring up the shortstop, Luis Cruz. Chris, you get the feeling that Walt Jocketty and all the discussions we've had with him is kind of leaving the shortstop situation up in the air. He's going to wait and see what's out there in this offseason. But I don't think in any stretch of the imagination can you say that Paul Janisch hurt himself during this stretch. He's played brilliant defense. There's a fly ball left center. Stubbs cruising. He's got it. 1 away. I mean, he's shown beyond a doubt, and you always thought he'd be solid defensively, but he's shown he's not just solid, he's above average and a rock at shortstop.
Well, it depends what you have on the rest of your ball club as to what you need offensively out of your shortstop.
Yep.
And Walt Jocketty has said this. I mean, they've been saying this for generations around baseball, is that, hey, as long as we are strong up the middle defensively, maybe we can get our offense from our corner players. And so that was been the case. I mean, the last few years, it wasn't like Alex Gonzalez was out hitting 400 for this ball club, but he played such good defense, and that's the reason that the Reds acquired him. And I think that Paul Janisch plays every bit as good a defense as Gonzalez has. And if they can get enough offense from third base, from left field, from center, right, Joey Votto continues, they will have enough offense, to be able to put up with a lesser offensive player in Paul Janisch. And meanwhile, maybe he'll get a little bit better offensively.
That takes a big hop over Joey's effort. So it'll be a second hit in the inning. 2 on, 1 out. Back to the top of the order, Andrew McCutchen.
But I can also understand why Walt Jocketty would not go out and give a great endorsement right now for Paul Janisch, because you want to keep your options open.
Sure.
You don't want to tell the kid, hey, you're guaranteed a starting spot next spring, only to find out that somebody else falls into your lap, or you can acquire who you think is a better player. So, the player wants that, but he also knows that the reality of Major League Baseball is that they've got 4 fields in spring training filled with minor league players that want your job. And that's the way it is, and that's the way it's always been, and it will be.
Big swing by McCutchen, who's been on base 4 times, 2 walks and 2 singles. The one thing you do know is Paul Janisch, if you're a general manager, he's yours, he's under your control, and at a reasonable financial number. So
I think when you're at the tops of your payroll spectrum, that is a very significant factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
1 strike to McCutchen, swing and a miss, 0-2. Just gets a piece to hang in there. No balls and 2 strikes. Now in the top of inning number 6, the Twins lead the Royals 8-4 in Minnesota. Tigers have already won. Twins need to win to force a 1-game playoff on Tuesday in Minnesota. Dribbled down to the right side. He tags him and gets the double play. Brilliant play by Phillips. Bad play from a running standpoint for the Buccos, but the Reds will take the out, the double play, and they still lead at 6-0 to the bottom of the 8th. Twins 11 hits, 8 left on base to the Pirates. No runs, 10 hits, 13 left on base, and we continue to say
thanks to those people that day in and day out help to have us enjoy our day at work, but even more importantly, do such a great job. The crew that travels with us all year long, no matter where we are. Siggy, he's on to hockey right now. Matt Sigafus, Lauren White, Sarah Mann. Sarah, of course, with us all season long. All three of them just have been instrumental in keeping us up to date every single night, both from a highlight standpoint and a perspective of the game that is critical, Chris. And I think in the time we've been together, I think that role, our associate producer's role, has improved so dramatically to what we can bring the fans from what we did 17 years ago.
Oh, you know, the equipment that they work with is incredible, but it also takes some creativity too. And you know, working with Lauren and Sarah on all the graphics, I give them at the last minute, you know, hey, I got this great stat for you. Can you come up with a graph, you know, in like 30 seconds and put it on the air because he's coming up next? And they're able to get it done more times than not. They work hard, and it's been a pleasure working with him this year.
He's always my MVP. That's Kent Dream Weaver. I don't know that, Chris, we've ever come across anybody who's more versatile, works harder, and is always there no matter what the scenario is to keep things going, whether it's as a pre-game producer, post-game, whatever, in the truck during the game. Dream, congratulations. Thanks for all your support and all your work all the years.
Come a long way, hasn't he? Used to be a videographer that would haul around his own camera, and that would be just about it. But he
still does that too.
Yeah, I know he does. He even leases out his camera.
He and Jesse do weddings, don't they?
Yeah, are you kidding me? All sorts of weddings. But he's come a long, long way. He's the one who helped me for so many years put together. Well, for many years it was the mechanics of the game. Now it's CBTS Tech Talk. And he's able to put those together, comes up with some great ideas, shoots at angles, shoots at different angles, and gives you the kind of the MTV look long before it was popular.
Swing and a miss by Barker. Kevin retired, first out of the 8th inning. And the guys who are in the truck each and every night directing for us, Roy Alfers, Uncle Roy, his season is completed now, but it's been great to have him back the last few years, Chris. One of the best in the business as a man, but even more importantly, as a friend and as a professional. Bobby Pennell, Carl Patterson, who have been back and forth with us all year. Hey, Carl, good job. We got through this weekend. No rain delays. Good job. Always great to have Bobby with us, too, when he has a chance to join us during the course of the season. And Chris, we kind of hang around here and they point and say, go this way, we go that way. And we're talking about Christian Roberts and Brian Hunterman. I think when you look at where we are and how far Reds baseball on Sports Channel and then Fox has come, I think Christian Roberts has brought us to a level that we've never been at before in terms of putting things together, making them work, and most importantly, bringing people at home what they really need to get. And Brian Hunterman, you talk about someone who's come. Brian started in the scoreboard room, and now he is one of the most valuable players that Fox Sports has in the whole scheme of television. Hunterman, CR, thanks. And CR, I'll get back at you for today too.
Well, he was behind all of it, George. Believe me, I'm not afraid to give him up right now. Yeah, I especially like the production meetings we have with Christian Roberts. You know, they start with a big bowl of ice cream, and as soon as the ice cream is gone, the meeting's over.
That's called the time limit. Some people have timers. We have cups of ice cream. When that's done, and speaking of the cups of ice cream, we had a chance to talk to Gwen Spikes today, who works in the lunchroom with Denise Thomas, and Gwen's feeling a lot better. And we send our love to you, Gwen.
We love her.
And she goes back to the old days at Riverfront, then Synergy Field. It's been a little under the weather, been in the hospital. Gwen, we love you and thanks so much. And same thing for Denise. Boy, she's been a breath of fresh air, hasn't she?
Well, you know, she took it upon herself to make sure that, you know, that cake that we showed you earlier in the game that we celebrated before the game with all of our production company and the staff and so on. She took it upon herself to get that done. And Denise is one special lady. We love her. Makes it fun to come to the ballpark.
2 balls, 2 strikes. That's inside to Drew Stubbs. Good day for Drew. Stubbs 3 hits and a strikeout. He's ending strong, and that's the way this visit to the big club has been for him. He's been very impressive.
And Nicole in the lunchroom over there, the charge of carving up all that fine beef and ham. Getting hungry just thinking about it.
And we talked about it at the start of today, Chris. All of us at Fox Sports Ohio thank the fans who have been so loyal to Reds baseball first, and the Reds organization, but so loyal to the support they've given us over the years. I mean, it's, for me, the last 17 years have been amazing. But just walking around town and talking to people downtown or talking to people at the ballpark, their love for the Reds and their concern for what the Reds are doing. I mean, we've said it very often, and we've been in the business a long time. The two best baseball towns in America are Cincinnati and St. Louis, and Bob Castellini is intent on bringing the same kind of success that the Cardinals have enjoyed of late back here to Cincinnati. And I have no doubt that that's going to happen. And
well, if this team plays all year next year the way they played the last 2 months, this place will be rocking next October.
Under the leadership of Bob and the Williams brothers, and of course Phil and Walt Jocketty, I think there's no doubt that this organization is going in the right way. And by the way, thanks to Debbie Bent, Walt Jocketty's secretary, who does such a great job of keeping us informed all year. And our best friends, Chris, Wilma Mann, Jenny Camp, Lois Hudson, who've been here longer than anybody. And it's great to just share with them day in and day out, stop by and just chat with them. They've always been so supportive and so welcoming to us from day number one. And it was great to see Gene Bennett today too. Gene and Loretta, one of the greatest scouts in the history of the Reds organization. A lot of people to be thankful for.
Well, they're going to miss you, George. I'll tell you what, because you take time nearly every day to visit just about everybody that you spoke of today on that list. I mean, you are a walking, talking Chamber of Commerce.
We've had fun, buddy. We've had a good time.
We've had a ball.
That won't end. That won't end. 2-2. That's down low. I do appreciate this week of you closing the pool and not making me come over.
Well, years ago, in fact, it was probably the first or second year that we worked together. You took time after a ball game. I was complaining about I didn't know anything about a pool. We just bought this house that had a pool, and I'm overwhelmed. And you put a step-by-step directions on how to do it. And somewhere along the way, I lost it. I almost called you.
Sutton will reach base after the ground ball back to the pitcher.
Actually, I lost it on purpose, thinking that you would just come on over.
Always be there, you know that. That's great, Chris. We've been able to watch Drew for the last month or so. We never really got a full view of him early in the year, and you can really see the potential and see what the Reds saw in the deal for Jeff Keppinger, because I mean, he looks like somebody that could very easily be a contributor to this ball club next year and the years after.
He can play a lot of different positions. He's a switch hitter, and the ball jumps off his bat. I mean, for a guy who's not really big and solidly built, he's got some pop in his bat. Interesting player.
Well, now the drama that's left as the Reds lead at 6-0. Here's Joey at the plate, and behind him is Brandon Phillips. Phillips today has had a great day with 3 runs batted in, so he's at 98 now on the season. He came up last time with the bases loaded but grounded out. So if Joey can get on, you can give him one more chance to hit 100 runs batted in for the season. One ball, 1 strike to Joey. Good day for Votto. 3 hits and a walk for the Reds first baseman. And more than anything, the optimism that we share is about not just the athletes that we're talking about, but the quality of the people they are. Joey, Jay Bruce, Paul Yanish, Stubbs, the young people coming up, Brandon Phillips, and that smile that lightens everybody up day in and day out. 1-2. Nub down to second. That'll take care of it. Last roundup time for the Buccos. Reds lead at 6-0 as we head to the 9th. play of the game. How many times this year have we seen him do something miraculous, Chris? And Brandon Phillips did it again.
You know what? That was a great play. Bad running play by the Pirates on that one, but a double play that Brandon Phillips really took control of by himself. And you know, you get used to, you raise the level of expectation so high when a ball is hit to the right side of the infield and goes to Brandon Phillips. I mean, you expect everything to be caught, and he rarely disappoints. It's been a pleasure to watch him play this year.
Cincinnati, Drew Sutton remains in the game at shortstop.
Drew Sutton will stay in the game. He'll be in at short. Adam Rosales down at third. Barker stays in the game. He will be at first. And here's your new pitcher, Carlos Fisher. Facing Andy LaRoche. LaRoche today struck out 3 times against Homer Bailey. Bounced out his last time. We alluded to it all season when the Reds played the Pirates, and of course the Reds had an 8-game winning streak against Pittsburgh when this series started. They have a 12-5 record against Pittsburgh this year, but they've struggled with runners in scoring position. Today's another example of it. They've left 13 on base, the Buccos have. And really in the early going, it looked like they were the ones that would take the initiative. First inning, a couple of base hits, but Homer Bailey battled out of trouble, getting a couple of fly balls, settled down in the second with a 1-2-3. Had to work from the stretch after a walk in the third, but got out of that inning. Had a 1-2-3 fourth. A triple to lead off the 5th inning, and that's really where Homer turned it on. A triple, then a walk. It was first and third, nobody out, and the Reds leading 2-0. And what happens? He strikes out LaRoche, Garrett Jones, and Millage, and Homer put his stamp on the game right there.
Yeah, that was really where you did take control of the game as a starting pitcher, and Homer's got the stuff to be able to do that. Pick it, Rosie.
Got him. That'll get him on their feet at Great American Ballpark. Adam Rosales with a cannon of an arm after the good pick.
Now, this guy can absolutely play with enthusiasm unmatched by any. And he comes up with a nice play right there. He's got a gun for an arm. Guy loves to compete.
Maybe 6-0, but our final stat of the season from Daddy Wags, you're just figuring it out. 0 for 13 of the Buccos with runners in scoring position today. Wow.
Hang with him.
Thanks, Daddy Wags. You're always one step ahead of us.
Well, you're not kidding about that. I was wondering that question, Daddy Wags.
Some people just work on stats. Other people make them relate to the game, and Mark Wagner's always done that.
Well, you know, a lot of people ask me, what do you guys, what is given to you as far as statistics and things looking? I mean, you can't possibly know all those numbers. And, you know, I'll make the confession right now that most of the numbers that I recite up here, most of the statistics that I go back to and reveal and talk about are ones that are originally looked up by Daddy Wags, and that preparation that he puts in before every ball game, it just helps us so immensely going into a series to know all the little things, not just the common stuff, but there's behind the scenes stuff that add a little something extra to our broadcast. And I think without that kind of an effort, it wouldn't be nearly as enjoyable.
And Chris, you know, I mean, we know, but not everybody at home does. Daddy Wags doesn't work every game. Of course, he works with Tommy Brenneman, and you know, we've been blessed with. We talked about it early with Marty and Tom and Cowboy being a part of this family too. But he's gone very often on the weekends. But he'll be in Detroit or Chicago or New York and call us on the phone saying, "Oh, by the way, I got a stat for you."
Yep.
Down to the final out of the Buccos on the season. They're on their feet in Cincinnati. We'll let the fans take you through this at bat. No balls, 2 strikes to Lastings Millage. Hop to the right side. That'll be in the seats. One ball, two strikes. Fisher trying to close out the 2009 season against the Pirates. Can't get him to bite on it, and we'll go full. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Fly ball to right, long run coming in. Jay Bruce squeezes it, and that will do it. The Reds close the door on the 2009 season on the smiling side of the scoreboard. What a day for Homer Bailey and the Reds, Chris. What a way to end the season.
Well, I'm really happy the way the Reds played down the stretch, not just today, but the